Welcome to Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today I'm joined by Sara Ness. She's Chief Catalyst at Authentic Revolution, as well as an advisor to social health organizations such as Seek Healing and Rethink Wellbeing. Welcome.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Yeah. You want to wave to everybody? They live in these cameras.
Hi, folks.
Today, Phil fails at authentic relating, which has been something you've been dabbling in, or not dabbling. You've been deep in authentic relating for a long time.
Existing in, swimming in.
And teaching and training folks to teach and kind of leading a business that does that, right?
Yeah.
Authentic Revolution.
Yeah.
Where'd that start?
I used to live in the housing co-ops in Austin. I used to live at Royal Co-op. Maybe some folks know that. And housing co-ops are a weird idea, right? Like you go from living with your parents usually and having almost no responsibility for most of us to living with a bunch of 17 to 20 somethings being given full control over the house, full control over the budget, and needing to like figure out all your dynamics and resolve your conflict. Like no RAs, nothing. So they're a little bit of a clusterfuck, to be honest.
Yeah.
At least kind of culturally speaking. And over time, you do figure out how to interact with other people. You figure out how to make decisions, but it's very kind of learn on the job. And so number one, that just made me fascinated about how people interacted with each other. Like, why did sometimes decisions go really wrong? Why did some house members work better with others, or some groups as a whole work better, even if members of them were not as kind of skilled? And out of the housing co-ops, I ended up taking a trip across the US to visit a whole bunch of other co-ops, communes, co-housing communities to see how they worked. Like, what can you do in college, but also what can you do afterwards to live with other people? And when I was on that journey, I stumbled across my first ecstatic dance. I met someone there that had done authentic relating at this center in Boulder. And I got really interested because I felt like I grew up really isolated. I'm probably a little on the autism spectrum. Like, I never kind of learned the norms of social interaction. So I made lots of mistakes with it. Won friends, lost friends, got kind of mostly kicked out of about 13 different living situations while I was in Austin, just because I couldn't get the social norms. And with authentic relating, they had these games that were like, okay, here are the rules of the social interaction for this period of time.
Now play.
Exactly. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, you can do that? It was amazingly relieving, and it was amazing training. It was the first time someone had gone, these are skills that you can learn. And it was wonderful for me. And I became a little obsessed, and I started helping the guys I'd met in Houston at this ecstatic dance to create community among the ecstatic dancers there and lead these. And then I went back to school in Austin. I'd taken a year off to do this travel. I went back for my senior year, started a community out of the housing co-ops there. And people just loved it, and it grew. And that community has been going continuously in Austin for 12 years now, maybe.
Yeah.
And in Houston.
It's interesting you'd mentioned, like, I've attended Authentic Relating here, and one of the most vulnerable things I think I could share with you is that, and I feel more like comfortable sharing it because you told me you got kicked out of all these co-ops. I was actually kicked off of Authentic Revolution.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I was there I don't remember what I feel a little bit of sadness sharing it, but like, yeah, I participated for a couple of months, and I think I'm just a weird dude that kind of was trying my best to be authentic and to, like, you know, participate in the community. I think people were off-put by my, like, the way I showed up. And there was a decision to, like, have me not be a part of that anymore.
Wow.
And it's been a part of my kind of experience as a neurodivergent human being, like not participating in groups or being invited to not continue.
It's really
sad.
difficult. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But it sounds like that was part of your experience too.
Yeah.
So I'm in good company.
Yeah, for sure.
I also love ecstatic dance.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's tough. It's like in those communities being a facilitator. And if this happened in the last couple of years, like my organization no longer runs it. It's run by a nonprofit called Connect Humanity.
Yeah.
So I kind of didn't know that situation. But it's a difficulty that I've found in being a facilitator and being a community leader. It's like when there's this metaphor of a missing stair that's been really impactful to me, which is like a guy goes into a bar and at some point while he's there, he says, I need to go to the bathroom. Where is it? The bartender says, you go around the side of the building, up some stairs. The bathroom's at the top of the stairs. Guy goes around the building. He starts climbing the stairs. Halfway up, his foot goes through a stair. Gets to the bathroom, gets back down, has like a little bit of a limp. And he goes to the bartender and he says, why didn't you tell me there was a missing stair? And the bartender says, well, everybody knows to hop that. And it's kind of a metaphor for having people in community where it's like, you can have people who are different than others, but then it becomes in a way a missing stair where the people who have been there know how to interact. And the people who haven't been there are like, how do I navigate with this person? We actually have someone like this in one of our conflict classes right now. Yeah. And we've navigated it by just making sure the facilitators play with him because he's an outlier because he's a computer scientist. Like he doesn't quite always get the exercises we're doing. He's not quite as vulnerable. But if you understand that personality type, you're like, well, it totally makes sense. And he has perspectives that nobody else will. In public events, it can be harder because you're like, what is the degree of variance that we can navigate here? And how do we introduce other people to what that degree of variance will be? I really like having high variance in communities. And I like giving the context of you're going to meet a lot of different sorts of people here. And some of them may not fit the norm that you think people should do here. Yeah. So treat it as a learning opportunity for how people interact in the real world and how you're going to navigate. Because if you're learning communication skills, it's useless if you're just using them with people like you.
Yeah. We're talking about communication skills. Mm-hmm. So I automatically think about, in my life, I don't know, it might be similar to you. I sought out different tools and techniques to help me with relating, whether it was nonviolent communication, crucial conversations, radical honesty, neuro-linguistic programming, all these types of things that
good stuff.
Help you with not only the way you're communicating with yourself, but the way you're communicating with other people. How does authentic relating fall in with all these other kind of frameworks for healthy and constructive communication?
The interesting thing about authentic relating is it's mostly just practiced through games. I found the word for this the other day of serious games, which are like games that teach you skills that are not just like kind of competitive playable. They're like skill training or working on things like agile games might be an example of these. And it's less like here's a communication structure and more like we have games for all sorts of different situations. One of our best games is nonviolent communication. Like I read the book and I was like, this could be a game. So it's just a game where one person talks, the other reflects, first person clarifies, adds, reiterates, and then the other person says, this is what I think I understand about you based on your share. Yeah. There are games like Watermelon, which is a silly perception training game, where one person just says watermelon and the other says you seem, and names like the way that someone is showing up. There's curiosity games where you get to ask questions for a certain period of time and then say how you're impacted. So each of them, you could say, trains different skills. And it's fun because you can create different flows of these. You can be like, okay, I want to help people experience, for instance, their relationship to themselves and different parts of themselves. So I'm going to start by giving some prompts for people to talk with each other about what are different parts of yourself that you would name, what are parts that are in conflict. Then I'm going to do like some sort of meditation where people get in contact with like their inner crew of different selves.
An IFS type of thing.
Yeah. And then an IFS game that we call split brain, where you identify two parts of self that are in conflict and you actually assign them to two different people. And then you act as the director while those people dialogue about this
Sounds
decision.
like Gestalt.
Yeah, in a way. And so we're gamifying all of these different psychological techniques and practices and going, how can we string these together to give people a really deep experiential experience that is specific to the person? Like less like we want you to get an outcome and more like, what are you going to discover from this?
Yeah.
And then through the process of sharing our discoveries with each other, you get this rounded experience of everyone sees this differently. How do we play it out together?
Yeah, I love the like you're pulling from everything. Like I hear that Gestalt or even radical honesty where you have the empty chair, where you have two different people that are really just yourself kind of communicating. You have the MVC, you have all these different things pulled into a game format.
Yeah.
Which really reminds me of improv.
Yeah.
I've been facilitating improv for many, many years and then ended up teaching facilitators to facilitate it. And that's a very experiential teaching environment.
Yeah. I was just listening to Impro on the way over here by Keith Johnstone. It's one of my favorite books.
Yeah. Johnstone's one of the founders of some powerful stuff. And that's a place where I think if you do it right, I love Viola Spolin. If you're doing it right, the games do all of the teaching.
Yeah.
And you just kind of pick a flow of games to kind of move things along. And I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I do a lot of skill training on a daily basis. I have classes in facilitation. I have classes in how to have difficult conversations, in community building. But one of my absolute favorite events that we do, and we do this on a weekly basis for free, and we've run it for like 3 years like that, and many more years intermittently before, is called Fight Lab. And we just get folks in a room together on Zoom, because we've got a pretty international audience. There are like 40 to 60 authentic relating and circling communities worldwide at this point. It's pretty broad. So we get people on Zoom and we're just like, okay, what are scenarios you're struggling with? And we trade off weeks between leadership scenarios and one-on-one scenarios. And we vote on the ones that have the most appeal in the group. Like most people are like, yes, I have trouble with that. Like last week, we worked on one around boundaries that someone brought. They were having a conflict with a neighbor. And then the week before that, it was someone that had been leading an LGBTQ event on touch and consent. And they had some trans folks speak up about not feeling like their experience was represented enough. So really interesting scenarios. And we set it up and we do a role play. And first, we encourage that the person who brought the scenario that's struggling actually plays the antagonist. They play the person they're struggling with to really get in their head.
Strongman their argument, right.
And also to show everybody else how that person interacts. So in future versions, they can represent it accurately. But you can also be a witness. You can try being yourself first round. And after the role play, we stop it and we go, okay, what happened? How did you feel as the antagonist? Like what worked for you about what the facilitator protagonist did? What didn't work? Where did you contract? Where did you like feel like something and you relaxed? Then we get reflections from the rest of the group. I'll do like maybe a tiny bit of like, if they're struggling, like here's a skill that you can try. But for the most part, it's peer coaching. It's experience. It's like a little bit of exposure therapy.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
And much as I want to believe that my techniques are the coolest thing, a lot of the time for people just getting to try something and getting feedback and getting to hear from their peers is actually the most valuable thing. Yeah,
there's something about when someone gives advice or gives strategies, I always appreciate it. But it doesn't mean I can do it. And there's something about stumbling until I find it. And it's always going to be a little different than what they suggested, but they can point the way.
Yeah.
But it'll never stand in for just kind of faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
Like just getting out there and being messy.
Something I like saying is that teaching is general and learning is specific.
Yeah.
So you really have to give enough time for people to try things. There's a technique that I really love from the rationalist organization CFAR, the Center for Applied Rationality. They do a bunch of programs on how do you confront cognitive bias. and they have this tool called Murphy Jitsu. Murphy's Law is anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah.
So if you teach people a new technique or they make a decision about something, you go, okay, we're going to Murphy Jitsu this.
Yeah.
It's a month from now. How surprised would you be if you don't follow through on this decision or you didn't integrate this technique? And if you're like, I wouldn't actually be that surprised. Some part of me knows I'm not really going to do this. Then you go back and you revise it.
Because you're not all in.
No. And that's the thing about it is like people, they like the idea of things. I'll say people, but also me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I love this technique. I love this piece of advice. I'm definitely going to implement it. And then I find myself not doing it because the hypothetical and the reality are really different. Even people's assessment of how much time something will take, studies show that we're wildly inaccurate.
Yeah. Yeah. Being a software engineer and estimating is a big thing. When people estimate how long it'll take to do things.
Do you know the idea of Socratic ducking in software?
What's
Okay.
this?
So this is another version of like, we secretly know things that like our cognitive mind doesn't, but like we actually know how long something's going to take or what the issue is. There used to be something in software engineering where a software engineer would finish a piece of code or whatever it was. And then a day or two later, they see their manager walking towards them with a crestfallen look. And all of a sudden, and even before the manager comes, they're like, I know what went wrong.
Oh, yeah. This is the rubber duck.
Exactly.
The rubber duck, you would go, I've heard of that. That's where you like go to your colleague and tell him what you're having trouble with. And by the time you're done telling them what you're having trouble with, you know the answer and then you go back and fix it. And then the people said, well, why don't you just talk to a rubber duck?
Yeah. So in the organization I got it from, they called it Socratic ducking because you would just like ask questions of the duck and answer your own questions.
And then you like, it just comes to you. That's cool. Okay. 5 questions about authentic relating.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be, which is not.
That's like, that was the 0 question. Though I realized that could be the first question.
Oh, I'm sorry. You only have 5. So
I've got 4 left. Dang. Okay. How does someone fail at authentic relating?
Oh, goodness. One of the ways is, and it's weird to say fail because like, I think everything is authentic to the person, right? So I'm going to go with the standard definition of like what authentic relating usually looks like, which is like being a little bit more vulnerable and honest with ourselves and others.
Okay.
So one way that people can block that a bit, twofold. Number one, constantly talking about things they already know. One of the most effective ways of appearing genuine to others and actually being genuine with yourself and having a new experience is to allow yourself to discover in the moment what is true for you. So if you're always reporting on something you already know, you're more talking for the benefit of the other person than of yourself. And the other person may not even care. They're like, okay, you've probably told this story 5 times. I want to discover with you what's true right now. So that's one. And the other one can be like, sometimes somebody is making a ton of jokes. And jokes are completely welcome in that space. Like I make them all the time. But if you're very habitually making jokes because you're kind of uncomfortable slowing down enough to find what is true right now, it can block things. And it can also be difficult for a group because it takes the group's attention. Everyone wants to laugh at a joke.
Yeah.
And if you have someone that's doing that a lot, there's not always room for other experiences. I find jokes really fun when you've had a certain buildup in the room or you've had a certain amount of connection and then someone makes a joke and we're like all in it together.
Right.
So that's kind of a different type of joke than one person that's habitually like trying to like be the class clown in a way, which is usually like, hey, I don't know what it looks like to slow down. It doesn't feel safe. This is my role that I usually play. And it doesn't always work to just have that person to like judge that person for sure and be like, hey, can you stop making jokes? Because you can't tell someone to stop doing what they're doing
Be
without
taking away their
them.
whoopee.
Right, exactly.
You can't take away their whoopee.
Yeah. And it never works to tell someone to stop doing something.
Right.
Like stop asking so many questions. Well, what am I supposed to do instead? Stop over talking. I don't even know that I'm over talking. Like, why is this a thing?
You're asking them to stop being themselves.
Exactly.
Or stop doing what you've been doing.
Yeah. So you can say something like, hey, I'd really love to like hear a little more about what you're passionate about. Or I'd love to hear your answer to this question. Like, I'm loving the humor, and can you like tell me it with a straight face or something?
Yeah. Yes, and. Yeah, I like that. Two things I heard there were, the first thing I like think of as like, be on an adventure together, as opposed to be kind of going through old stuff that's, you know, a story you've told many times. Explore together with the other person. Be kind of inventing it. Like, I thought Lewis and Clark, be Lewis and Clark, not, you know, one adventurer recounting his own adventure. Y'all adventure together about something.
Yeah.
Is that kind of it?
Yeah, totally. Adventure
part?
together, even if you're just talking about yourself, like allow yourself to discover a new way of telling the story. Like, for instance, a fun game to play with networking is have people go and introduce themselves to each other and like talk about what they do. Right. So you give them a couple minutes each to do that. Then you have them go to someone else and you're like, okay, talk about what you do, but you can't use any of the words you used the first time.
Nice. Yeah.
And it forces people out of their box. They have to think about it differently. And oftentimes they'll find themselves being way more creative. Like maybe the first time they talked about the facts, but the second time they tell a story about what they do or a moment with it or whatever.
Or maybe get silly or find some way to, I love that. Invite creativity into something that's could be rote.
Yeah.
Could be like well traveled. And the second,
No, go ahead.
I was just going to reflect back the two things that I heard you say. And the other one was like jokesters. Like, something about, it's not always jokey. It can be fun and playful, but joking around can be some distraction or some hiding.
Yeah.
Where there might be something more authentic that could be shared or something deeper that could be revealed in the absence of that constant joke.
And I'll even build on that a little more. I think it's more even than just jokes. It's like habitual patterns. Some people ask questions very reflexively. They're really uncomfortable having the attention on them, or it's like they've learned it as a mechanism of being liked, or it's uncomfortable to have space in the conversation. And so they'll ask question after question. One way to notice if someone is doing this habitually is sometimes their questions are disconnected from each other. They like need to have a next question. So they'll say it even if it's not really curious. And that's another form of like habitual relating. And you really have to slow down enough to get out of those habitual forms.
So like redirecting the spotlight, like if someone is asking a question immediately instead of really sharing what's true for them around something.
We're taking enough time to pause and go, what am I curious? Someone's like, what do you do for work? And you answer it and they're like, cool. Like, what do you think about the city you live in? And then you answer it and then they're like,
there's no,
do you have any kids?
Right.
Yeah.
There's no logical train of thought where one question leads to some other exploration that's tied. Non sequitur questions, a bunch of them.
Yeah.
It's like, can we slow down and say, like, it seems like you're reading from a list of questions that you've got to ask before we get done. Yeah, that makes sense. Those are two good ways to fail, I can imagine. What do you think? Well, let's do the opposite. What do you think successful authentic relating is? Like, what are some of the attributes of a successful authentic relating connection?
Well, one of them like are the opposites of those. So allowing yourself to discover in the moment what's true for you. Even if it means having pauses in conversation, even if it means saying, let me think about that for a second. It's better to slow down than to assume that you're going to have an answer right away, or tell the same story again and again. Like right now, I don't necessarily know what I'm going to say before it comes out of my mouth, which on one hand is vulnerable because I'm like, wow, I could just completely lose my train of thought.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it feels like I'm being here with you in response to your questions and in response to like even the affect you're giving to me. Like with someone else that I'm talking to on a podcast or something, I'm going to interact differently. And with you, it's really easeful, which I'm appreciating. So that's one of them. Is just like slowing down and taking the time.
Can't do opposites of the Phails though, Sarah.
Shoot. Okay.
Well, you can. You can do anything.
Now I've got to think of something else.
Oh my goodness. You get no time.
Uh-huh.
What do you think? Not opposites of the. I love that though.
Of it. Yeah.
Like, what do you think are other things?
How do you succeed at authentic relating? Allowing yourself to be paradoxical is another one that I really like. And it's hard to describe this one. Sometimes people seem almost apologetic for changing their mind or having different perspectives or having parts of them in conflict. They're like, I know I should have an answer to this, but, or like, I'm sorry, this is confusing. Things like that, where it's like, no, there's not one authenticity. There's multiple parts of ourself that at any I kind of subscribe to the internal family systems view, where it's like, freedom versus safety is a big one that comes up, where it's like when people are looking to change jobs, which I know you're thinking of, there's the one part that's like, wow, I want something dependable. I want to be able to take care of my family. I want to know what's happening on a day-to-day basis. There's a grounding in that. And then the other part is like, but I also want to feel passionate about what I do. I want to feel expressed. I want to feel like I'm giving something to the world.
Yeah.
Right? And then maybe you have another part that's like purpose-driven. Like I want to give something that's really meaningful. And another part that's fun-driven. It's like, I just want to really enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And we get very bound up because we're like, I should just have one narrative and make one decision. Our culture doesn't have a lot of space for not knowing, for exploration, for making mistakes, for changing your mind. But people who assume they should be cohesive seem very in conflict with themselves. And you can kind of feel that bound upness.
Yeah.
And people that are willing to just be like, here are the different parts of me speaking. I don't quite have an answer yet. I'm going to live into it and share that with others and be willing to. I find that brings a form of authenticity and relatedness that then others really open up as a response. They're like, oh yeah, I have that too.
Yeah, I'm torn too at times. Yeah.
Yeah,
Pulled
exactly.
in 4 quarters.
Here are all the different pieces of me that are struggling right now. So it's like, and that kind of ties into another piece, which is like just vulnerability of things that are going on with you, things you're scared of, things you're proud of, things you're experiencing right now, things you'd like to experience. That causes others to open up. When I'm training facilitators, I'm like, in any game, you should be the first to be vulnerable.
Yep.
Because the group will go to the depth that you go. You should always do a demonstration of a game. You should always do it ideally from something that's like true in the moment for you then.
Yep.
Or if you've come up with it ahead of time, it should be something that like really feels true for you, even if you haven't figured it out yet, especially if you haven't figured it out yet.
Let them see the messiness of that.
Right. And it should be adapted to the group you're working with. If you're working with a company, use a professional example.
Right.
Whatever it is, but like, let yourself set that standard, even if you're in the front of the room.
I love that. And I use that in the improv facilitation when I go in there, when I participate or demonstrate, I make sure I'm huge so that it sets this bar way high so that anybody can, express.
Right.
Below that. They can come up to me, they can go past me, but I'm at least creating a huge room, a huge area for everybody to make silly sounds or make silly noises or gestures or movements because we got this kind of gregarious, wild Tasmanian devil that like says, okay, well, if that's the normal of the facilitator, then that leaves a lot of opportunity for me to be anything that I want.
It's another reason why as a facilitator or a teacher or whatever, it can be valuable to demonstrate different ways of doing something where you can be like, okay, I'm going to demonstrate. Like for instance, if we're doing a vulnerability focused exercise, generally speaking, we want to give people a couple different options. We want to be like, okay, if you want to do the spicy version of this, you could like talk about your childhood trauma.
Yeah.
And you might even give like a little example of that. If you want to do the intermediate version of this, say it's a curiosity game is an example I'm giving. Like you could ask questions about like, what is a traumatic experience you had in childhood? What's your relationship to sexuality? How did your parents fail you? If you're doing an intermediate version, you could be like, what are you passionate about? What is your home life like? What is something that you've always wanted to do and haven't gotten a chance? If you want to do a mild version of it, you might be like, what is it that you do for a living?
Yeah.
You know, where do you live and how do you feel about it? So that I'm giving examples in that. So it's not quite like the vulnerability of demonstration, but I'm giving people enough ideas that they can play at their own level and
Yeah.
they can bounce off of it. Because if you give both like, this is what it looks like as fully expressed, which is great in improv.
And you all have to do it.
Exactly. But you can
it's
also be like, okay, like, but this is the version of it where like, I'm also expressing, but I'm doing it in like a way that feels true to me. So like find your, whenever we teach trainings, we always have multiple leads. And I oftentimes choose leads that I have a hard time with or whose styles are really different than mine because I want people to have multiple examples. When I got my training, I mostly got it from individuals, or like there was usually a hierarchy where one person had a very strong personality. And I, especially when I initially got trained in circling, I really, really struggled because the style I saw was not my style. I couldn't emulate it. And I didn't do the practice for months and months afterwards because I felt so ashamed at not being able to replicate that. And I don't want that to happen for my students.
Yeah. The thing I thought of was you can be expressive with low volume. Like there's oftentimes people think intensity is volume.
Yeah.
But you can be really expressive and really intense at a low volume. You can also be really, the opposite of that is true. Although it's probably a little bit harder. I tried to think, how would I do that?
Not expressive at high volume.
Be really high volume, but small in what you're doing. I guess it could be really bland, but
I mean,
there's
even
this giving this level of what you share and how. And then I love this like different versions of it because people aren't going to resonate with every style.
Yeah.
So you want a bunch of options for people to pick from.
I think the main thing as a teacher is trying your best not to make people feel wrong about the way they are and finding the value in the thing they do. I think oftentimes art teachers, when they're good, have the kind of most characteristic experience of that is like the way somebody draws, start from that. Figure out how to turn that into something really special instead of teaching one way to draw. It's the same with learning and facilitation is like if you can bring out people's superpowers or name what they're doing that's valuable, even have them teach it to others, they all of a sudden feel like they can turn that into something really beautiful.
You love what is, even if there's aspects of it that could benefit from feedback.
Yeah. And there are some things where it's like, okay, what you're doing is like, maybe you should use some correction with it, or like, let me at least reflect the impact that it has on me.
That's the feedback, but you can find something positive in it to start, because to influence, you have to connect. Yeah. First, there's got to be some engagement or some like trust that comes through, I see you, and then there's some opportunities.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Like if I have really soft-spoken facilitators, I'm like, that can be a superpower. People have to lean in when you speak if you really own it instead of apologizing for it. Yeah. Which I guess is another piece of like doing authentic relating, right? Is like, try not to apologize for who you are.
Yeah.
There's going to be somebody that gets along with it. It's the facilitator's job to find a way of accepting it and normalizing it for the group, ideally, or finding a way of talking to you one-on-one and saying, hey, you can choose your behavior, but here's the impact it's having on other people, which we don't usually get told. We just get told you should change that.
Yeah, we want to know the impact. Or the impact is, I believe that most things with regard to personal growth, personal development, begin with awareness, an increase in awareness, whether it's looking in or looking out. And so having that level of what's the impact of this? And oftentimes just the impact alone, if provided in a safe way, or not safe is kind of charged word in this area in a,
consensual way, maybe.
yeah,
Like,
and where they're not out to get you, the
Yeah.
person's not giving it for their own agenda or they're not trying to hurt. The changing can occur, much like if you touch a stove, like the feedback is immediate, it's hot. The hot stove isn't out to get you, and you're going to just not touch that stove again.
Yeah.
So getting that feedback immediate, getting that impact of your actions can be informative.
Yeah. My husband makes a distinction I really love. He sometimes does feedback trainings for companies, and he makes a distinction between appreciation, evaluation, and coaching, that they're 3 different things.
Appreciation, evaluation, and coaching.
Yeah. It's really nice. Like when we give feedback to our co-facilitators, I oftentimes try to like distinguish those 3 things. Like, here's what I loved about what you did. Evaluation is like, basically like, here's how I felt about it. Here's how it landed. Here's the effect I saw on the rest of the people here.
That's evaluative.
Yeah. It's like, that's evaluation. Yeah. And then coaching is like, here's something you could try.
Try some things.
Here's what I would have preferred. Here's an idea, whatever it is. We usually like mix up evaluation and coaching, or skip evaluation entirely. We're just like, here's what I loved. Here's what I think you should do.
It's the hamburger. It's the love coaching, love sandwich. Yeah.
Instead of being like, the reason that I think you should change this is that I saw a bunch of people in the room crossing their arms and looking away when you were explaining all of the instructions for the game before playing them.
That's all about having a lot of detail and having a lot of specificity in the feedback that you're giving, which is like, I observe this. I get back to this MVC thing. I don't know why I'm on a Marshall Rosenberg thing today, but
because MVC is amazing.
I love Marshall Rosenberg.
Tools. Yeah.
I found one, I'll digress for a moment. We have one MVC teacher in all of Texas, lives in Brenham. And I've been talking to her about coming and doing the show. And I'm trying to find 12 people or maybe 15 people that she could do a workshop with, so that when she comes, she has a little bit more incentive to come.
Oh,
but
that's
I have
fun.
I posted on Facebook and no one responded. And I felt like, does no one love MVC anymore? Like, what's up?
I know some local groups who do it. I'm trying to remember the name of the
there used to be David and
David and
she moved back. She moved back to Europe. I don't think she's here anymore. I don't know if David's doing it anymore, but I digressed and now I forgot where I was. But
evaluation,
specificity when you're doing these types of things, you can say observation without judgment. I noticed when you said this, the people in the audience did this, and I think that detail can really empower the feedback. It can empower the coaching, because they're like, well, you have eyes that saw things that I didn't see.
Yeah.
And that it's a lot better than good job, dude, or whatever. Or, I liked what you did there. And it's like, well, what exactly did you like? There's nothing I can take away from that kind of, dull feedback.
Yeah. And I will say that I personally am really prone to coaching without evaluations. This is a skill that I'm constantly.
You do it.
Oh, yeah. I can be really bad about it, especially when I like feel a little bit contracted and I'm like, oh no, like, this facilitator did something wrong and they like harmed the class. It's like very rare that there's actually harm done.
Yeah.
And even if there is, it's like, you're not always going to change people, like you said at the beginning, by giving them advice. Like, they have to oftentimes come up with their own solutions. And people usually care if you give them impact. If you're like, hey, when you said that, I felt really hurt. I felt betrayed. I felt like my heart sunk a little bit.
Yeah.
They care about that way more than if you say, hey, you shouldn't say things like that.
Yeah. They're like, well, dude, I don't want people to feel that way. I don't want that type of impact on the people that I share space with. So oftentimes that's the coaching.
Yeah.
Well, you can give a couple strategies, I imagine, that could be helpful too, but they're probably going to be sitting in that for a minute of like, I've had a bunch of failures, me personally, and sometimes the failures can be deafening, just sitting in the impact of them. But that in that deafness, in that failure is the learning, the lesson, the tool, the gift.
I think the best way to approach it is like as a scientist as well, which is like, if you get feedback, if you can like teach yourself to treat it as data instead of a commentary on you,
Yeah.
and be like, well, what specifically did I do that caused that moment? Hey, are there other people that felt the same way? Are there other people that felt differently? Like, especially for facilitators, we get lots and lots of mirrors, and we have to be able to check it instead of getting devastated at every piece of feedback.
Right. They all can't strum the chord of our self-limiting beliefs.
Right. And so you have to start, even when you get appreciation, start asking, well, like, what specifically did you appreciate?
Yeah.
You know?
Or is it just that I'm the one standing up here teaching the class?
Right. What should I do more of? What should I do less of?
Yeah.
Do other people feel that same way? Is this just my way of being or my superpower? Am I not great at it, but I can find someone else who is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Third question. We got to think of a third question real quick.
Okay.
The first two were
good.
I ask everybody those two questions.
Okay.
It's the last three that I try to make up. I improv them. Questions about authentic relating. Let's see.
Or anything you're curious about.
What am I curious about? I mean, ideally what I'll do is I'll like take these and practice them.
Okay.
Like this is the beginning of a relationship with someone. It's the opportunity for that. And the vision is that after this, kind of learning this skill from you, getting these 5 questions and talking about this practice, learning about your life and what got you there, the next step would be, if there is if it's cool with everybody, I'll practice it. And then come back and have follow-up conversations where I'll say, like, I practiced some of these things.
I love that.
And then this is how it worked or didn't work. And then it's an invitation into some kind of relating with the philosopher that manifested into this philosophy book club. This philosopher brought over 9 books and he was like, okay, here's how I think we should do it. And I was like, okay. Now I'm like reading philosophy every other week.
That's fun.
Which has been challenging.
That's a great thing to leave somebody with.
I mean, it's awesome. So let's see. How can I learn? What do I want to know about authentic relating or authenticity and vulnerability?
It's hard because like you do a bunch of these skills already. I can already tell in the way that you're navigating it, like even you not having the questions prepared, but instead being like, okay, what am I curious about from the person? The way you make eye contact, the way you lean forward, you have like a kind of ease of movement that's usually common in people that are actually relating in the moment. There's kind of like a stiffness of posture when someone's being kind of self-conscious. Also, you started us out by being like, even before the interview, by being willing to talk a little bit instead of being like, okay, we have to start the interview at this time. You were like, it's okay to chat. It's okay to like shoot the shit. Answer
I want
some
people to be
questions with each other.
comfortable.
Right. Which is a form of relating and being kind of in yourself and in the connection with someone else. Because authentic relating is like both authenticity, like me expressing, and relatedness, receiving the other person and being willing to kind of be in the beingness together.
Sarah, I have in my life done a lot, engaged with a lot of frameworks and modalities in order to do what I thought was fix me. In order to figure out how to do better at making friends and being a part of communities. So I've engaged with a lot of different types of, practices. Authentic relating has been one of them. And I think what I learned in the end was, I didn't need to fix me. I'm not sure which one taught me that, but just the idea that I needed to fix myself or change in any sort of way. Not that all these weren't wonderful, but that's probably why I have a grocery list of these types of things and a lot of shared vocabulary.
Yeah.
And little practices that I use that I learned from each one,
Yeah. It's like you try to triangulate yourself through all the different modalities. And at some point you're like, I can go to any of these points, but there's a me in the center of all of them.
And I'm okay. It's okay to be weird. It's okay to, it not work out all the time. It's okay to be different. Did you have, well, what brought you to these types of things? You said you got the boot from some co-ops and having maybe some level of autism. And I know autism has a social dynamic to it. What had you interested in these types of things?
I think, so like I said, I grew up quite isolated. I really didn't have many friends growing up. Looking back, I don't know if I'd say I had anybody that was a true friend. Like I didn't have anyone I could talk to about what was actually going on in my life until high school for sure. And even then I was like friends with all the outcasts at a school of outcasts.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of social skills that I didn't really learn. But when I got to college, I was kind of like an arrow loosed from a bow. Like I grew up quite isolated. My parents didn't have any friends or even acquaintances either. They worked most of the time. They were both researchers and doctors. And I went to an all-girls private school for middle school and high school, like 30-person graduating class. It was about as like isolated as you get.
You've
Lived
said
in the
isolated
suburbs.
now 3 times. I
Yeah.
have to ask about what that is. What do you mean by isolated?
Like I just didn't have many people in my life.
Was it out in the middle of the country?
I
or-
lived in the suburbs. We didn't know anyone else on our street. My parents didn't have friends. I barely had friends. I taught myself to read when I was about 4 years old. And then I taught myself to speed read, which I thought was normal reading. So I used to read on average about 10 fantasy books a week.
Oh, wow.
My whole world existed inside of books. It's still kind of my main addiction. Like if I start reading a fantasy book, I cannot put it down until I'm done. And usually until I'm done with the series. I won't work. I won't interact with my husband. I won't hang out with friends. Like I have to ration myself.
Yeah.
Because it's my safety place. So I wasn't like locked in a cage or anything, but I definitely didn't learn social skills.
Was that a wonderful place to be, though?
Oh, I loved it.
We're kind of like overlapping with the second part, which is going to be this deep dive into your past, which is fine.
Yeah.
You're giving me a little bit of insight into what that's going to look like.
Yeah. I did. It felt like, I think if I hadn't had that, I would have been quite depressed. But instead, I had all these wonderful worlds to live in. And I just didn't have that much contact with reality because reality, like I didn't understand how people were supposed to work. Yeah. And
That's such a funny thing.
Yeah.
To hear that sentence, how people are supposed to work.
Yeah. How they're supposed to, like, what are the social norms? How do you talk to people? Whenever I talk to people, especially new people, I just felt extremely uncomfortable and awkward and bound up in myself, which I think is really normal for
Probably
that
normal,
age.
yeah.
I would make a lot of faux pas. I wouldn't notice social signals that people thought they were giving off. I couldn't understand anything that wasn't explicitly stated.
Yeah. Explicitity.
Yeah.
Explicitity. Explicitness.
I kind of like explicivity. That's really good.
I think that's a neologism.
I know. I love those. But when I got to college, it was like I got all this socialization I'd never had before. And it turned out that I was like this very bright and engaging person, which I'd never realized before. Like people were really attracted to me. I had tons of energy. I was out doing things all the time. But it's like people would know me for a while and then they would get, I think, kind of off-put. Unless I was in a leadership position, which has its own shine to it.
Yeah.
But I kind of had a hard time really keeping friends. And like I said, I kind of lost a bunch of houses and housemates because they would be trying to tell me things and I wouldn't pick up on them. Like I wouldn't pick up on any of the subtle signals.
Yeah, you needed it to be bluntly said.
Oh, yeah. And even then I would kind of like sometimes try to get around it or not hear it. I just didn't really get where the boundaries were of listening to other people's experience.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, you have a lot of the same. Yeah. And if you're in a leadership position, people like look up to you and they think it's normal. But if you're just relating with people on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't work as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I got interested in what I'm into now. And it's funny, in the last couple years, I got some really tough feedback from a couple people. I kind of had what I'd say was a bit of betrayal from like two of the people closest to me.
In the last couple of years, you said?
Yeah, like a couple years ago, I got told by one collaborator that she felt like I was hurting people and was like being really insensitive and like ended up just having a huge schism in my home. It was a housemate that I was living with. And then one of my closest collaborators told me she thought I was an evil cult leader. So I had like this feedback and I was like, well, if two of the people closest to me think this, then like
there must be something
doing
to
something
it. Yeah.
wrong. I should step out of my leadership positions. In retrospect, like the feedback I was getting from everyone else is like, this isn't true. If you look at the guidelines of a cult, you're not leading one at all. Like the event you held that this person thought you hurt people at, everyone opted into. One of the staff members had gotten COVID the day before and everyone was exposed to it.
Oh my goodness.
And I had chosen to not cancel the training, but to give everyone there an option to come or not. We held the whole thing outside, but she like felt like it was still very unsafe. So like I was like, if I can't see what I'm doing in leadership, if I'm hurting people, I should step out of it.
Yeah.
And that's been really strange because I've noticed that without my role, I'm a different person. Like I have to build up from scratch. Who do I want to be? That was a very strong part of myself. And that's been a little bit disorienting. It's been like, okay, I feel like I'm in a new phase of my life where I have to figure out who I am now and who I am without this very seductive mask that I put on, where I was high status and people wanted to be with me because of it. But now I have to figure out who wants to be with me because of me.
That's interesting. It's interesting for me currently because there's this idea that this is some avenue into adding value into the world in a larger way, which I think directly relates to some sort of status. Like I want to be a valuable person in the community, in society.
Yeah.
And I think this is a way to like give back in that way. And then when you start to step into that, if it starts to have some success, it's like you're stepping into a new version of yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not that, I mean, you're multidimensional.
Right.
But that's part of the dimensions. I mean, you still have your fantasy novel self.
Yeah.
You don't relinquish that.
Something I've really found is like from trying to step away from everything, I think what I'm finding is that we actually don't exist outside of roles and we don't exist outside of relationship, really. Like I can't step out of all of my roles. I have to find things that I'm going to inhabit and ways of being that I care about.
Well, if you could go further than that, we could discuss Buddhism. We're not going to, but we get to where there's no self at all.
Exactly. Which is like, if you're independent of anything else, like that actually feels true to me. Strangely.
You are me and I am you and all that stuff. What is that? I'm the walrus.
Yeah. What are the selves that you feel you want to inhabit? Like, what do you want to step into?
For me?
Yeah.
When I think of the person that I'm every day kind of more and more stepping into, is it falls under mind, body, and spirit type of realms. Just living an active life where fitness is a big part of it and optimal health is a big part of it. And then engaging, learning, lifelong learning, new things all the time, and then sharing those with people, interesting things I'm excited about or interested in a way that's not just enriching my life, but enriching other people's lives. Being ADHD and probably other coexisting conditions, I've gone down numerous rabbit holes and they've been to myself, right? I've gone deep dived into a ton of things. When I was circling a bunch, I think I went way down the integral rabbit hole, and it was just, it lived and died within me. And I want to find a way to share these rabbit holes because it's really fun. Some way that ADHD can be a benefit to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then also there's a part of it that's seeking companionship and realizing that providing value in the world is a beacon of sorts to folks that not only share your values, but are walking their own path. There's this saying, you find your purpose and then you find your partner. And there's this way I'm still looking to find that purpose-driven life. Well, that's what I'm finding right now. I'm living that purpose-driven life.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty cool thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now it is. Find that mission and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I was going to say, but decided not to, but now I've decided to say, now I just need to find out how it can be financially stable.
I was thinking when you were talking about the idea of ikigai. Have you heard of this?
Yeah. The Japanese ikigai is, what is it?
It's like, what's at the intersection of what you love to do, what you're good at, what people need, and what's going to make you money, which is like, realistically speaking, almost impossible to find.
It's hard.
Most of us have a day job.
Right.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Some people hit that nail on the head, but it is the question. It's like, if you're living your purpose, how do you make ends meet? And especially because you have a family, so that puts more strain on it. But I really love that you're going for what you do care about, and especially that you said, like, you don't know what's next and you're leaving some open space. Because I think that's where that uncertainty is, where something new comes in. I find myself kind of craving it in my own life. Like, how do I take a step back and really start considering like what I want to be and do at this phase of my life? I think one of the things I'm finding is just like, I want to be really excellent at whatever I do. In the last couple of years, I feel like I've gone through all these different iterations of like, am I going to teach conflict? Okay, I've done tons of research on conflict, but like, I've never like worked in a jail. I haven't done formal mediation for years. I've gotten trained in it, but I haven't like practiced beyond a couple of sessions. Like, okay, I'm not living it to the extent that I feel like I can be really excellent.
You got your mediation certification?
Yeah.
Dude, I've been wanting to do that.
I love the place spirits. I got it.
Because it's only like a 40-hour thing. You can do it in like a week, can't you?
You could if you take in live training. Yeah, I think. I did it with International Mediation Campus. Okay. I've got to say they were really great. But it was, we woke up at 6 a.m. Like twice a week for 4 months to do that certification. Wow. They do have American time zone ones that just wasn't at the point we wanted to take it. Right. So like, but they were really, really good.
I've wanted to do that, and I've researched it more than a couple times and watched videos, and I'm like, man, that'd be cool. I actually went through a mediation recently, and I might have the mediator on the show, because I'm like, there's something that's really exciting to me about supporting people at that junction in their life. It's a crucial conversation. And emotions can be high, stakes can be high, and you're kind of reading the room and active listening, reflection, finding people's values and sewing that all together, or helping people sew it together for themselves, but giving them the little nudges. It just seems really cool.
It's fascinating work. Yeah, the couple that we did, I just found really, really interesting and complex. And one of the questions for us was like, also, how much are you a teacher versus how much are you a facilitator, especially if you're also a communication teacher? Like when you come in and you're like, hey, you guys are contributing to this conflict in these ways, versus when do you just hold open space? And to be honest, like teaching myself not to teach in those spaces of like, I am here to solve a problem.
Right.
I am not here to change people's way of communicating.
It's solution-based. Yeah.
That was really, in a way, it was both very restraining and also very powerful. Because in communication, we don't usually think of it as solving a problem. We think of it as like
effortless efforting.
Yeah, I'm going to improve your life skills. And mediation is like, no, we got to decide who gets what in the divorce. Yeah.
At the end of this, we leave with a court with a document. Right. Goodness. All right. It's 50 minutes, so we're going to just jump to fifth question. I know we've asked a ton of questions. We'll just call those 4 in there somewhere. 5 question is, what do you think? What do you think a good question would be for yourself? What are you excited about? Oh, that face is... I'll think of it. Let's see. Why do you do this is always a good one. If that feels good to you, I could think of another one. Let's see.
Give me like 2 to choose from.
I'll give you 2 to choose from. Why do you do this is a good one. And then...
Actually, let's do this. You want to play a little game real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so there's a game we play called Curiosity Tapas,
Mm-hmm.
which is where if you don't really know what the other person is going to be most interested in, or you want to like let your mind a little bit free on curiosity, you ask questions, and instead of answering, the other person just gives a 1 to 5.
Yes, I've played this game on how exciting the question is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so why do you do this?
3.
What do you think is next? Like, where do you want to go next with all this?
Ooh, 4.
What are you bad at?
4. Just for ease of answering.
Yeah, let's see. What daily practices would help someone get real with authentic relating? Like if there was some rituals they could invite into their life, what would they be? A couple of them.
Ooh. 4.5.
Let's do that one.
Okay.
What kind of rituals do you think would be?
Also, I love how much more creative you got just then with like getting to slow down and think of questions instead of like pressuring yourself to have one.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see that shift.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Well, there's this, if I don't have a question immediately, I'm seen as I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or that sort of thing. The benefit of me calling the show Phails is I'm not inviting people to see something that's polished and put together and is a successful show.
Yeah.
I'm inviting them to see me fail and to fumble and to figure it out.
It's so much permission, right?
Let them just witness this whole thing, the fool's journey in every episode, which really gives me a lot of like grace. Which I want us all to have.
Like called yourself out ahead of time.
Yeah. It's a fool's journey, you guys. Like witness.
So let's see. The question was, how would I recommend that people practice this, right?
Yeah, rituals that you think they could invite into their daily life that could, if I've got my morning routine, you could do some journaling, or what would be your authentic relating kind of daily routine that would maybe start to like reinforce or build up a practice.
I have a couple ideas of what I do, so I'll just share those.
Yeah.
One of them is I really love having buddies that I like do a check-in with, like ideally every day. So I and my husband are poly. We have a really wonderful girlfriend. Every day or at least once a week, we have a group thread together, and each of us will do a little check-in. And we've kind of defined together what we like best. So ours is a sensation we're feeling, a story we have, appreciation, and my husband added one that's like an impossible story that you have. So what's something impossible you can like get yourself to believe right now, just as a creativity exercise. So like the idea that like everybody, so my impossible one right now might be like everybody has a secret purpose. And it's like a very clear thing. It's like, you should do this thing. Like you should teach people finance, for instance. Like that is your purpose in life. And when you find it, it's going to be like transformative for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's something really weird and so specific that very few people find it.
Yeah.
Like you got to hit that nail exactly on the head. And if you do, boom. But
you
it's
just
like,
happen to be in an office going through to meet somebody else, and you see a finance piece of paper and you're like, what?
it is my role in life.
I just got a little aroused.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Why am I aroused right now?
my thing in life is to create kinky videos about finance documents.
Oh my God.
Ding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my impossible story for today. That. So that's one thing. Is
a
just
check-in, a daily check-in with people in your life.
Yeah. Ideally something like maybe in the morning, even if you're messaging somebody else, but something to like get you a little bit into the norm of sharing with somebody.
Well, it's twofold. Number one, you're like, what am I feeling? Like you're checking in with yourself before you're sharing that check-in. So it allows you it gives you this point where you define point where you're saying, I'm going to check in with myself. And then what you just shared was, I'm going to share that out.
Yeah. And I do that with myself too. Like even before I get out of bed in the mornings, if I remember, I do like 3 appreciations and 1, what is my intention for today? And for a while I was really struggling with self-confidence. So I made myself do the appreciations as what appreciations do I think other people have for me?
Oh,
And I
like
made
that.
myself name 3 of them. And then I do what's my intention for today.
I think people, what do I think people appreciate about me? That's interesting.
It really helped with self-confidence because I realized that my internal stories were really negative. I was kind of implicitly assuming that other people were
Don't like
disliking
me.
things
Yeah.
about me. And instead I was like, no, I bet you that my friend is really grateful to me that I texted her yesterday to ask how she was doing. And I bet she like thinks that I'm a good friend.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is like challenging something.
Well, you're
I didn't
automatic.
even
Yeah,
believe
you're battling your self-defeating, self-limiting beliefs in there. You're battling all your shadows.
It's really cool if you can get yourself to like do the opposite of what your brain is implicitly thinking.
Yeah.
Existential kink is a version of this.
I love existential kink.
Something I did for a while is like when I was feeling really self-conscious and nervous around other people, I made myself look at them and just say friend inside my head.
Mm.
And it like, I got so much more comfortable with people. I was like, what is my brain actually
Everybody's
saying
my
about
friend.
them? I think my brain was like unsafe.
Yes, yes, that's what your brain was saying.
Was
probably.
my default. And when I made it say friend, it was like, oh, friend.
In Buddhism, I'm bringing up Buddhism again, probably just because
great.
I just talked to a Dharma teacher before you and also have been in it. But in Buddhism, they've got this thing where because of reincarnation, like everybody in the world has been your mom. At some point in the infinite.
Wow, that makes your mom jokes more awkward.
But they teach you to like see everyone you're communicating with as your mother. Mm-hmm. So there's this automatic familiarity, loving kindness type of vibe. So it seems like this trick, I'll call it a trick, but just this like, a trick to like make people less threatening, make people more loving. You're essentially, they say God created the world in his image, but we are God. We create the world in our image. And once you realize, I'm saying absolutes, but once you realize that you create the world, then make it a friendly world. Yeah. Sure, shit might happen. Things might go bad and someone might do something that's wrong. They might wrong you, but don't let that be what you look for every day. Yeah. Create friends. And that's what you were doing. Yeah.
And it requires a conscious effort to do and a constant effort.
Yeah.
The other one I'll say, and we're kind of going through a whole bunch of cool ones here, but the other one I'll say is like, it's around the idea of withholds. And a withhold is something that you are like holding back that's eventually creating a barrier between you and someone else. Sometimes these are really big things. Like I have a withhold from, this is not true right now, but I have a withhold for my dad about like not making his will or something, or not talking about his cancer. Or I have a withhold for a housemate about feeling like we might need to part ways, or like, we've had a really difficult interaction. So sometimes
some
they're
kind of
big.
Thought that's been happening in the back of your head or that's coming up and you're not sharing it.
Yeah. But sometimes they're also really, really small. It's like I have a withhold for my housemate about the fact that she slammed the door and gave me what I thought was a dirty look when I walked in the other day, and I'm feeling really uncomfortable around her.
Yeah.
I have a withhold for my husband around like him checking his phone when we're talking, and the fact that like I feel a little disconnected when he does. And you notice withholds usually when you're starting to avoid the person or avoid some aspect of their behavior.
Yeah.
Or feeling subtly resentful. Those are like the triggers for I probably have a withhold. And I bet if everyone listening thought about it, they would notice a couple little withholds.
You probably got withholds with people in your life.
And usually you don't even know what's the moment it came from. Like you have to really practice to be like, let me track back and ask myself when this started. And you really have to remind yourself you should not have a solution. This is not about having the answer to it.
Yeah.
It's not about, the roommate one was actually a bad example because I was like, I have a withhold about wanting my roommate to leave. Well, actually the withhold is probably something like I have a withhold about like my roommate inviting people over and blasting loud music late at night and how destabilizing that is to me, and the fact that I've spoken to it a bunch of times and now I'm starting to think about whether we're a fit for each other.
Right.
Like that's more specific. Kind of like the appreciation, evaluation,
The
coaching thing we talked
specificity,
about. If you have those, learning to actually speak up about them and practice that muscle is probably the most important authentic relating skill you can do on a regular basis. And you can do it in a couple ways. One is you can set a specific time where you do it. So with a housemate, I used to have every week, we get together, we have dinner, we do appreciations and withholds. Start with appreciations. So you kind of feel like you're
the
more
hamburger.
open.
It's
right.
the
And then end with one too.
Connect before you influence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's get the good feelings, and then you got the crunchy peanut butter.
Be more open. Today I was I was presenting a plan to a couple collaborators, and before I did it, I asked, would you lead with appreciations and curiosity after I present this before you give me feedback? It's really helpful. If you're in a work context, you can build it into your one-on-ones. You can build it into your group meetings.
Yeah.
Like at the end of it, you can be like, hey, do you have anything for me that would help our working relationship? Or if you want to use that languaging, you could say, do you have any withholds for me? In one company I worked with, they used to call this go direct. So do you have any go directs for me?
Yeah.
So don't wait for performance reviews, because if you find out about it then, it's like not, what are you going to do about it at that point? It's too broad.
Well, you're inviting intimacy.
You're inviting intimacy, yeah.
People don't realize that. They think I don't always realize that. Mm-hmm. That saying those withholds are invitations into your experience and connection, and they can be difficult. It's then like what happens next is kind of really important.
So couple skill points in this. One, always ask for consent. Ask,
I got to share something that's a little
might
spicy.
be a little bit difficult. Is this a good time?
Is this a good time?
So not just, are you open to it?
Did you have a flat tire this morning and you're feeling sick? And
some people need more preparation time than others. Some people want to hear it in the moment.
Do you want to hear it in writing first and then let's talk about it?
Exactly. My husband hates having things sprung on him. He wants to I'm like, cool, would you have time to sit down tonight? I think it's going to take about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Give him a time frame. Actually get consent. Just don't get kind of passing yes, no consent.
Yes.
That is shitty consent
to
me. Give options. So that's one thing. Another thing is ideally share what happened, share the impact on you, and then let the other person respond. Before you give here's what I'd like, ideally be like, hey, when you slammed the door the other day and gave me a dirty look, what I presumed was a dirty look, I felt really uncomfortable. And I'm curious, are you mad at me for something?
Yeah.
For instance, I'm following up with a question. I'm curious how that moment felt to you. What's your experience of this? So get shared reality on reality first, and then you can brainstorm with the other person. You could be like, okay, how do we navigate this in future? What's an experiment we could try? So instead of saying, how do we solve this? Be like, what's something we can try? What's something we can fail at?
Yeah.
And see how it works ongoingly. So that is just amazing. It's so transformative to relationships. It's we have a glass between us and it just gets smudged and smeared over time. And this is Windex for your relationships.
Yeah, that's a perfect one. That's a really good one. All three of them are really good. And I remembered 1 and 3, so I'm going to invite you to remind me of the second one. The first one you shared was check-in with somebody. Mm-hmm. And the check-in can be preferably every day and have maybe a couple people that you do this with regularly. And that can be what's up with you emotionally? What's something you're excited about? What I noticed through a lot of these was affirmations, gratitude practices. We have a negativity bias. Mm-hmm. When I say the human experience is negativity bias is there. So we really don't need to talk about the worst things that happen to us but balancing that out with gratitude and appreciation, I think is really important. Yeah. And I've noticed that throughout.
It'd be what are you struggling with? And also what's something you're appreciating?
What's going well, yeah. So having a check-in and having some fun and playfulness to it, that whole secret purpose thing. Mm-hmm. And then the third one was withholds. And the second one was...
We kind of got into the idea of reframing your thought about other people and having a different story.
Everybody's a friend.
Yeah, I wouldn't even have named, but it actually is something I've found super, super valuable.
Yeah, it's reframing. people as friends.
Yeah.
Like this being aware of your orientation to strangers, your orientation to people in your life, or you automatically endowing them with, they're on your team.
Yeah.
I can even think like, man, they've got a Phails t-shirt. I can just walk up and see, oh man, they've got my t-shirt on. Like we're on the same team.
My husband, because I am prone to like getting angry quite quickly and getting quite defensive.
You are?
He and I, oh God, yes. If I'm triggered, like I go straight to defensiveness and judgment.
Oh,
and,
wow.
It's something that I've really struggled with.
Yeah.
And my husband, when he notices it, has started just saying, same team, Ness.
Yeah.
And it relaxes something in me because it makes me aware that in that moment I've been thinking we're on different teams.
Yep. I say that to my kiddos. We're on the same team. I'm on your team.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's important. Well, a question that I had, and we're gonna scoot to the middle thing.
Okay.
So this is just one. Oh, should I ask this? Yeah, whatever. How do you see so authentic relating and circling? What's their relationship? Did they come? They kind of came up around the same time, and even I don't even know now. Jordan's calling it relatefulness. So it's
how much
like,
of a history lesson do you want here?
Oh my God!
Do you want the 2-minute version or the 10-minute version?
Well, I mean, how much time are you?
version.
Do you have a hard stop?
I will need to check my phone to find out, but I don't think so. I actually tried to move my next thing a little bit.
So I don't mind a 10-minute response, but I definitely want to learn your life story and kind of your childhood. You've already kind of teased it a little bit, so I'm excited to get that. And I think that's a big part of this expression is hearing people's childhood and all that stuff.
Well, I'll try to be short about that part. And this is fun because just like a lot of people wonder about it.
Yeah.
So like, let's see. I want to say that this is like going to be as accurate as I can make it, but it's still going to be according to me.
Okay.
So like,
circling and authentic relating according to Sara Ness.
Okay. So cast your mind back to the world of, I think it was the late 90s. There is this guy named Guy Sangstock.
That's right. He was at Burning Man.
He was at Burning Man. The whole story is that he took 10 hits of acid and he started seeing what had to be true for people to be the way they are. Guy's an artist. So something he told me is that he almost gets like a visual readout of like the different parts of people and like their core self. So he's really good at naming that aspect of themselves. Guy is also a little bit of a savant. Like he's brilliant at this and he also can be like kind of whiffy about everything else, but he's like, it like literally is his zone of genius.
Yeah.
So he was part of a community in San Francisco that I think was just called The Community. And he started leading these workshops in this thing that got known as circling. There's actually kind of a funny story of like, he was putting on a breathwork workshop and they got to the breathwork workshop and they were like, what are we going to teach? We don't have anything prepared. And then someone was like, why don't you do that thing you did at Burning Man? And he's like, okay, let's try that.
Oh my God.
Back then, circling was really different. Like they would circle someone for 8 hours until they cracked. Like they were almost more like encounter groups.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So almost everyone in his community went through this experience, which I think they called either Alethea or Arate at the time. Might have been Arate. And then somewhere along that line, this guy named Decker, Kunov came onto the scene.
Yeah.
And Decker had been leading this community called Soul to Soul, also in San Francisco, which was just a community of people that were relating in this deep way. Like they would go to parties and people would be like, what are you guys on? And they were like, this is just the way we're relating with each other. Also kind of a natural expression of how Decker does, how he is in the world. And he was, no, I think that's a little bit later. So he attended one of Guy's events and pretty soon ended up being like a course leader and a coordinator for it. Then there's a point where Guy is going downhill. Decker is doing this sort of work with pickup artists and doing it for dating salons, translating it to the real world. He was a much better marketer than Guy. Guy kind of ran through the community that was available in San Francisco. And then he was going downhill and he either gave or lent the rights to circling to Decker, which became very contentious later on. There was like a huge schism in the community between the two of them because of the like, Decker went away and made it successful. Guy came back on the scene a couple years later. Did Guy have any right to it? Like, so that got really complicated. A lot of drama in a relational practice.
Surprise, human beings, drama.
It's one reason why I actually got so interested in teaching conflict, because I discovered that authentic relating and circling are really bad tools for it. They don't specifically speak to that. You need a different tool set. They're good for some degree of regulation, but not for dysregulation. So
yeah, I learned crucial conversations.
I love crucial conversations.
Well, it's basically MVC for business.
I know. It's so good, though.
MVC is like rebranded. I think crucial conversation is MVC for business. This is according to Philip. And then how to speak so kids listen and listen so kids speak is MVC for parenting.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back to the story.
So back to the story. So anyways, Decker, so Guy kind of drops out of the picture. Decker teams up with, he goes and a guy from Boulder comes to one of his trainings for pickup artistry and men and such.
This is where we get the Integral Center.
So yes. So he goes back. He's the director of the Integral Institute, Robert McNaughton. And he's like, this stuff is amazing. It's basically an intersubjective integral practice. And he and Decker convinced Jeff Salzman, who owns the Integral Center, which is an old converted church really close to downtown Boulder, to lease them the building for a reduced rate. And they start leading trainings out of there. And around now, like 2012 is when I stumble across it. And I find someone that's been through the Authentic Man program, which is one of kind of the pickup artist communities, which, by the way, in terms of marketing was absolutely brilliant. They marketed to pickup artists by teaching them inner game instead of outer game. So basically how to get women through presence and integrity and curiosity.
Being a better
and all
man.
this.
I found a lot of the pickup stuff, which is really, is just be a better human being. And then people are going to like better human beings.
Which it wasn't back then. Back then it was very technique focused and negging and how, this was the early days of
where
pickup.
they were using like NVC, like the hypno.
Yeah. Like
the manipulation
kind of
stuff.
Hypnotizing people, negging people. Yeah, different techniques that you'd use to get women into bed. But at some point men were like, wow, this is unfulfilling. Like I can get somebody to sleep with, but I can't find a girlfriend.
Right.
So they would go to like Decker's programs and such, and he would kind of transform the brilliant programs. Like one of the exercises they did, I eventually ended up being on the women's teams. They'd like work these guys for the first 2 days. On the third day, they'd bring in women like dressed to the nine. It's like we were going on a first date. Absolutely gorgeous. We had like a guy that was kind of coordinating us, who was literally just there to appreciate us and like make us feel like goddesses. And like we would come in and we would just give these men reflections on their way of being. There was this one exercise called the approach. All it was is a man would walk up to 2 women sitting on a couch, stop, not say anything, and we would just give felt sense reflections on how we felt in his presence.
What's his vibe like?
Yeah, like, and sometimes we'd be like, I feel repulsed, I feel drawn in, I feel whatever it is. And then he'd go back, he'd get coached by the men, he'd approach again. So like really kind of very actually like authentic relating-ish, like core of how do we feel around each other?
Dial
what is
in your
curiosity?
vibe.
Yeah. So I met these guys that had been through that program. They had gotten this little manual of authentic relating games that Decker and Co. had produced from some of the work they were doing with dating salons. I started leading those games. This kind of does go into my personal story. I started leading those games with these guys, John and Brian, in Houston, and then I brought them back to Austin. At that time, there were like three to four authentic relating communities in the world. There was mine and Houston's, I guess. So I was helping lead both. There was New York and there was Toronto. And then to some extent there was Boulder. Boulder occasionally led games back then. So I started, since there were so few games, in Austin we were inventing new ones all the time. And I knew some of the other leaders were inventing as well. So I started collecting a more extensive games manual, which now is more than 250 games and variations from like, I think over 100 people all over the world. So that's kind of how I made my name, was like, I created resources for this whole like burgeoning set of communities. And like, you could say really kind of catalyzed that movement of authentic relating as well as circling. Authentic relating, some people would call it like micro versions of circle. Some people would call circling an authentic relating game, and some people would call authentic relating a form of circling. Back then, they were like kind of sister practices. And oftentimes when you did circling, you would start by doing some authentic relating games to train. But you could also lead authentic relating games nights on their own. But both of them were kind of meeting at the Integral Center. That's where all of the leaders were coming from. So back then, we honestly didn't make a lot of distinction. Like, it just didn't matter as much. I liked authentic relating games because they're more modular and you can be a lot more like creative with them. Circling is a specific practice. It's super deep. Oftentimes people would go from authentic relating to like, we want to take the reins off, we're going to do circling. But authentic relating in some ways can be a better place to start because you're going to get the skills, you're going to build up the tools, you're going to try different things. And it was better for different scenarios. Like it can be hard to go into a company and be like, okay, we're going to circle. But it's easier to go in and be like, okay, we're going to do like a series of authentic relating games to learn communication skills or feedback or whatever. And then you can work up to circling because that's like, let's just be in presence together and curiosity and receptiveness and awareness.
Yeah.
So now it's a couple years in that I've been connecting with the Integral Center, and these guys, John and Sean, who are in Europe,
circling Europe,
are starting to do something that kind of feels similar. I went into them at the Integral Center.
Did they meet anybody? Oh, were they here in America? Or did they start it on their own in Europe?
They were in Europe. They started on their own. They were teaching tennis.
Did they have any exposure to what was going on in America?
No. I think they were into integral theory. They were teaching tennis, and the way they were coaching their students was similar to what circling was in some ways. So they somehow find out about the Integral Center. They end up there. I meet them there. They contact me a month or two later. They're like, we want to do a tour in Austin doing whatever our form of circling is. Yeah. I'm like, cool, I'll organize something for you as like the first place you're going.
Was Jordan involved at this point?
So here's what happens, and this is funny. Jordan, he and I were circling together in Austin. He ran an integral group, which is how I'd met him.
He's a huge Ken Wilber fan. Yeah. He wrote the book, like that book.
Exactly. So like I start going to his integral meetups because someone in Boulder tells me about him. He starts going to authentic relating games.
Okay.
Just phenomenal human being. Like
we kind of Jordan.
Fell in friend love instantly. Yeah, we lived together for a while. We led together a lot. So there's this immersion coming up and I'm like, Jordan, I think you should be there. And he's like, I'm not paying $350 to be at an immersion. I already like do a bunch of this stuff. I was like, Jordan, build the website for it and I will give you a free ticket. I think you need to be here. He goes, he meets John and Sean. They instantly connect. It's great. 2 weeks later, they message us and they're like, hey, we're overbooked in Toronto. Will you guys fly down and help with it? So that was kind of our kickoff. Jordan and I start leading immersions together in this little bit more of circling Europe style. Mm-hmm. We do a training in Austin. He ends up being very in bed with them. I end up being like, I like bringing a lot of different things together. And back then circling Europe was very much like you either do it this way or you don't do it. And I was like, I want to combine.
Was this before the circling studio in Austin?
Way before the circling studio. So
he was working with John and Sean before that even started?
Oh yeah, well before.
Was this when y'all were doing it at Casa de Luz?
This was like maybe 2016, 2017 or something. Okay. This is like early on.
Okay.
He was working with John and Sean for several years. Circling studio is only maybe 2 years old.
Okay.
He was doing regular circling before then at Casa de Luz, and then I think at his house.
At his house, yeah.
But yeah, this is before relatefulness, everything like that. So lots of other stuff happens, but that's kind of where the different branches happen. Guy comes back on the scene. That causes a schism with Decker. That gets really dramatic, whatever. Decker steps out of the scene. He kind of gets run out of Boulder on a rail because of a couple things. Integral circling kind of dies with him. The Integral Center also Jeff Salzman ends up selling it. So that practice isn't around as much anymore. Although out of the Integral Center closing comes Authentic Relating International, who also does authentic relating trainings. They kind of become the other big authentic relating organization. They do way more trainings than us now. Mm-hmm. And they also do way more specific, like authentic relating skills trainings. We focus more on facilitation and conflict these mm-hmm. days. Some basic authentic relating for sure, but like kind of specialized. And so they've been going a couple years, doing a fantastic job. And now you've got like these two main circling branches, Guy out of San Francisco doing Circling Institute, and John and Sean out of Europe, and Jordan doing Relatefulness out of Austin, which comes about because there's a point where all of a sudden we find out that Circling Institute is trying to trademark the word circling.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
And then Jordan said for a long time they would be grandfathered in.
It got extremely contentious. It honestly, Circling Institute, I have feelings about
That's
the way they dealt with it.
one in San Francisco?
Yeah,
Right.
basically they stopped. We, like 5 of us, filed trademark injunctions on the same day because we only found out about it a couple days before it was supposed to go through. They'd done it on the down low. Somebody leaked it. They said, okay, we're going to have a big meeting of everyone doing circling. So there's like 30 of us on the call. I'm running a circling platform at the time, even though I'm not actively teaching
Authentic
it.
Revolution is doing circling?
We ran a
there was
platform
another
called
one?
we ran a platform called Connect, where there was circling every day.
Okay.
Which actually beautifully, after Connect closed, there's an offshoot that's continued doing that same morning circle every single morning for years
That's
now.
cool,
It's
yeah.
like run for something like 2,000 consecutive days at this point.
That's
It's
cool.
just beautiful.
So you're on the call because you've got something branded
I've got
as
an
circling.
organization, yeah.
And up until this point, it hasn't been branded.
No.
It's just circling is something anybody can say they
Right.
do.
And authentic relating still is. Now, admittedly, there were a lot of people doing something they called circling that was very, very different. And something that people like kind of were talking about, but like didn't really talk about officially, is that circling Europe, style circling and relatefulness is
Very different
so
from Jordan's.
different.
Yeah.
No, circling Europe and relatefulness, I don't know how they are these days, but they're much more similar to each other than they are to integral style
Really?
or Guy Sangstock circling, which is much more structured and therapeutic, usually focused on an individual and their experience, much more guided by the facilitator. The facilitator is almost like a therapist. They're very hands-on.
That's where you get surrendered leadership versus, I guess, in the Guy Sandstock, it's not as surrendered leadership. It's
No.
more
Surrendered,
very
so
facilitated.
They're incredibly different practices. They should be called a different thing.
Really?
Yes, to me, at least.
But then the Europe branch continues being circling.
So this is one of the things is like, I think that one of the reasons circling was getting so confused is you just had people that were trained in these different schools and you never really knew what you were going to get.
Yeah. And we would have people, when did Jordan's thing for a long, long time, and you'd have people that would come from different practices and say like, this isn't even circling. And we'd be like,
exactly.
well,
because it's so different,
Yeah.
right? So it is still very confusing. But Guy's organization kind of used that as a reason to go, this thing needs more oversight, which maybe they weren't wrong about. The way they went about it was just like, talk to the other people that are already doing this practice before you decide to trademark it, because you have to enforce a trademark for it to be legal. Anyways, they formed this thing that they called the Circling Federation that was supposed to administer the trademark. They were supposed to hand over the trademark. When they got it to the Circling Federation, they got the trademark. They said, our lawyers told us not to hand it over. So anyways, from that though, because there was a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen with circling, is it going to be regulated? Are we going to start getting letters that we have to cease and desist? Because of all that, a lot of the circling got renamed or became different. So Jordan renamed the Austin kind relatefulness, which I think was actually a good move. It was like, okay, I'm not even going to be involved in all this.
Well, you lose so much market market presence, and like when you have a name that has that kind of lineage, and you're like, okay, now I'm relatefulness. Sure, Jordan has a name, but you can't say circling and have it kind of means something. Now you have relatefulness and then authentic relating, and you have,
it's rough.
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's become lots of different things. But again, I think it was already so confused. It was almost like it couldn't get worse. What's amazing about it is that the practice has been powerful enough to continue despite all of those things. And authentic relating, even like what we call authentic relating, is like a ton of different games and practices. Some are taken from improv, some are from like IFS or NVC, some are like specific skill training for different communication skills. Some are just like, this sounds fun, let's put it in the book. Like, both of the practices are like, we were essentially like sitting in presence and practicing communication with each other and being with what's true and real, just like practices all over the world do. Yeah. So that's kind of the story of it. At some point, Jordan, a couple years ago, split from John and Sean.
Circle Anywhere.
Circle Anywhere.
Circle Anywhere, and then you had Circle Europe.
And we went through, at Authentic Revolution, went through a whole bunch of changes to, tried to start a new branch for a while of relating languages that we thought could be a good bridge to mainstream culture. Didn't really work. Then started doing more with like conflict work, went back to the facilitation work we're doing. And have in some ways been really trying to find like what direction we go for a couple years of like just asking the question, like, where are these skills most needed? in the world. And that's been a big
Where are these
process.
skills needed in the world? That's the question you're putting out there.
Yeah.
Where I can imagine it's where are they not needed? It seems like conflict skills, facilitation skills,
Yeah.
probably needed everywhere. It's just where do you have an appetite for them? Where are people really wanting them?
Right. Are they better to teach in companies, in government, in independent organizations, and
More
taught as
lucrative
those
in
skills?
companies.
Right. Well, that's part of the problem too, is like so many of our programs are, they just don't make much money because we want to make them pretty universally accessible.
Yeah.
We're working with people in different countries that have different exchange rates. The standard cost of living has risen and people's income has largely dropped. So there's not as much, like we're surviving on angel investing right now. And that is a big question of like, how long can we do that? What do we focus on? Do we focus on making money, or do we focus on the things that seem most impactful to our students? It's a big question we're facing.
Tightrope.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, in transition, thank you for sharing that. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure folks will enjoy having that kind of history because I haven't found it out there. And I think people want to know the history of a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
You look up when you hear these names, at least when I heard these names, I would go research them and I'd see Decker Kunov as like maybe doing business consulting or something. Like you don't see him.
Yeah. He's not really part of it anymore.
There's not that branding of like, this is where I was and this is that I'm a part of it. You see Guy Sandstock's website and it's, he's got his whole circling, thing that he's presenting, and you see the Europe guys, but you don't see some fabric that weaves everything together. There's not the integral centers, you don't see that history.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
It's gone through a lot of iterations. It's not like, it's never really been like neatly packaged, which in a way has allowed it to expand a lot more. I think there's something to be said for a bit of chaos in open sourcing, which is one reason I've never wanted to trademark authentic relating. I'm like, I would rather have some chaos over putting any like bumpers on this thing.
Right.
Like I consider our job at Authentic Revolution to be giving the best resources to help this movement grow, giving the best facilitation training, putting out, a couple of months ago, I did this big project with a leader in Dallas and a leader in Australia, just all pro bono to like redo the whole authentic relating and circling communities map. So now there's a map you can go to and find communities when you travel. And that was like a huge research project. And so is the games manual, but I'm like, that's what we do. We don't try to control it in any way. We're just going to help you find it and spread it. That's cool. Been really fun.
Well, in transition, when I went to email you, I found that we had emailed before, because when I put in your email, there was an email where I had reached out to you to do the authentic relating leadership program that y'all did here. This was like years and years ago. I was working at Macmillan, and they wouldn't pay for it. I wanted them to pay for it, but they wouldn't, or whatever. So I didn't go because it was, a couple $100. And I've always kicked myself because it seemed like so much fun. And I know so many people that have done it, but you had reached out and said like, hey, I noticed that you'd kind of put in a questionnaire or something. I don't remember what I did, but are you still going to come? How are you feeling? And I don't know. I just felt kind of like, oh, I'm tied into this in some way. I've been interested in this for a long time. And so I felt really happy to, now have this conversation. And then
came back around.
The conversation continues in another way.
It's sweet timing too. Cause I haven't run that training in a while, in part because we've been in this question of like, how do we make money in that training? Like, is so much work for absolutely nothing. But
there was like sleep in, like you would sleep all together in a place
housing,
for like
it's
a week.
Food,
right.
It's a 1-to-1 staff to participant ratio. So we have like 20 staff, 20 participants. All the people that have taken it before have a chance to come back as staff. It's beautiful. You're like immersed in community.
It seems awesome.
And I just booked, I was like, I can't not do this. I missed this training so much. So I actually just booked a venue for December 13th to 15th. And we're going to do one for the first time this year.
Let's talk offline about if you wanted like someone to record stuff and video stuff.
That's be probably fun.
And I don't know. I would love to be a part of it or participate.
Let's talk about it.
That'd be really cool.
It would be so fun to have a videographer.
If there's a good way to capture it.
Yeah,
Are you
we
going to
can
do it
talk
here in
about
Austin?
It's going to be at Bastrop State Park.
Well, that's fine. That's close enough.
Exactly.
We can
yeah.
use all this equipment, I think.
They have housing for like 50 people. They're amazing.
Those camps, those are the cabins, I mean.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the cabins?
Yeah. So we'll have like a rate for a private room, a rate for a barracks. It's like, I have like ideas on how to make the main room really beautiful and decorated. And it's
I'm
in
definitely
park.
going to circle back around. I'd love to be a part of that and capture it and, you know, get to participate in some way, even if just an eye.
Yeah.
That'd be so
that would be really
cool.
fun.
All right. We're going to play an improv game and we're going to play an authentic relating game.
Sounds good.
You're about to say something?
We're good on cameras and everything.
Yeah, cameras are all good. They're all on. Everything's working.
You have good batteries.
They're plugged into the wall.
Brilliant. We do a lot of filming for our trainings and I'm so used to like batteries running out and needing to check things and like
you have to plug them into the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've found that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mess around anymore.
We'll film like something and then Joff will go like, oh shit, my memory card filled up like 10 minutes ago. I'll be like, oh no.
Yeah, I've got these memory cards are good. I got SSD cards on here that are 1 terabyte.
Brilliant.
This will probably be 200 gigs each camera.
You're on top of it.
Which is fine.
Amazing.
Production. I've failed before now. That got me to that. Now, please, y'all, hold on. Don't break on me cameras and make me look bad, but I've done some due diligence. I can give you 3 games and you can pick one.
Cool.
Or I can just be like, this is the game we're playing. Which one do you want?
What would be more fun for you?
I want to give you 3.
Great.
Yeah. Soundball. I played Soundball earlier today. I love Soundball. It's a fun game.
Okay.
It brings the lulls. It brings those lulls.
How does it work?
Soundball. You pass a sound and a gesture back and forth.
Okay.
Then Mirror Cat, which is you mirror each other and at some point the other person takes the reins. Like you pass the reins of control back and forth.
Okay.
And one person's either the mirror or the person standing in the mirror. And it kind of flows back and forth.
Love that. Okay.
That's fun. And the third one is 1, 2, 3, which is kind of a memory game, which I probably need to play it because working memory is not the strong suit of us ADHD folks. But it's one of the games I have on the list.
You sound so excited about that one.
The memory game.
Can I add one more that I find fun as like kind of improv game?
Yes, of course.
Just as like a cool improv game, there's a game called Color Echo where the goal is you have to say the same color at the same time.
Ooh, yes.
Okay.
I'm about that.
That's one of my favorite improv-ish games.
Let's play it.
Okay.
You have to say the same color at the same time?
Yeah. So
how are we going to do that?
One person is going to start by leading and the other person is you're just going to kind of tune in.
Okay.
And because like we sometimes notice really subtle signals.
Dude, this reminds me of a game called, we've got a mind meld.
Okay.
Mind meld. Anyway, go again. Let's go.
Okay. Do you want to lead or follow first?
I'll follow.
Okay. So I'm going to say colors and you try to say the same one at the same time. Purple. Orange. Yellow. Blue. Green. Orange. Fuchsia.
There's also another improv game where 2 people stand together and they say the lines. They say the lines together.
At the same time?
Yeah. Oh, we can do another one. Let's finish this.
Okay, we'll finish this one and then you could lead that one. Okay. Pink. Vermilion.
What?
It's one.
Too under the bus with that one. Vermilion? I don't think I ever said that. If you said, say vermilion, I would be like,
I was running out of normal colors.
Okay.
Okay. Black. White. Yellow. You're really good at this. Okay, I think I'm out of colors.
Okay.
See, it's strange. You can really I was even trying to say some of those faster after a while and you were totally on with me.
Let's kick that up a notch.
Okay.
We're going to kick that up a notch and then a notch above that notch.
Okay.
With some musical improv.
Okay.
Okay? We're going to sing a song together at the same time.
Okay.
But it's a song that we're going to make up right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does it have a theme?
It does now.
Okay.
And that theme is
Beingness.
beingness. I'm gonna start singing a song about being. We are here together. Songs are cool. Be here now.
Nice.
Yeah. I love musical improv.
That's so fun.
All right. Whew. That
Cool.
feels good.
Mm-hmm.
I love playing
Me too.
games.
Makes everything more fun.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to when the Buddhist was here earlier. The Dharma teacher. I can call her Buddhist. She's cool.
Mm-hmm.
She's Terry. We played games, and she was like, you don't have to be serious. You don't have to be serious. Someone went up to Thich Nhat Hanh, which is her kind of leader, and said, I need to be more serious about my Buddhism. And I think Thich Nhat Hanh was like, I don't think he didn't say that, but the paraphrasing is like, I don't really think you do. I don't know if that's going to make it better.
Yeah.
There's something about lightheartedness and fun and play that I think helps teaching and learning and definitely connecting.
Something about games. Something about getting people into their bodies and moving and silly. And
yeah, it can be healing too. The mindfulness meditation teacher, we played games and he started feeling overwhelmed because, yeah, exactly. And I was like, okay, let's talk about it. Let's just stop and talk about what's coming up for you. And it was around being seen in the camera publicly as playing games and having fun for him had some shame to it. And that hit me hard.
Yeah.
So I was like, can we play more games?
I love that.
And he was down with it.
I can get very serious and goal focused. And I've had a couple co-facilitators recently in trainings that like just did amazing movement and play and had some like improv folks to the point where I'm like, I need to bring in a co-facilitator at any event I do whose specific role is to look for when people are needing some fun and movement and have an override button for me to bring it in.
Let's move it, because shaking it up, that can like reinvigorate participation, attentiveness, and I don't know, it's just a wonderful sorbet to sometimes bunch of information or difficult stuff.
Yeah, you got to get people moving and shaking to open their minds.
Okay, would you lead us in an AR game?
Okay, on a level from like fun to transformative, where do you want to go?
Oh my God. You're giving me the eyebrows that say transformative.
No, these are the like, where do you want to go eyebrows?
Oh, okay.
Maybe they're the transformative eyebrows. I don't know.
That's just what I wanted. Maybe I'll see whatever.
What are my transformation eyebrows?
Right now they're like,
It's my guru eyebrows.
They're kind of aristocratic.
Transformation.
Transform.
Yes.
We will transform. Poof, we're both like geckos.
You've already got the beard for it though, so.
For transformation?
It's a transformation beard if I ever saw it.
I have a transformational beard.
It's like a wizard beard.
Oh my God. What do you think? What games come to mind?
For transformation, there's one that I really enjoy, which I thought could be fun given what we were talking about like purpose and different aspects of self. So it's a game invented by a community leader in LA named Patrick Wolf. I always like giving attribution when I'm doing games.
Thanks, Patrick Wolf.
Thanks, Patrick.
Appreciate you.
I hope he watches this. I'll send it to him. And it's a game called Who Are You? So the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and you're going to answer them. And for each of them, you're going to answer them for 2 minutes. So I can get my phone to time or you can time on your phone.
Yeah, we got this phone.
Okay. So do you want to set a timer or you want me to? I can hold the time if you open it up
Here.
for me. Oh, you already have it.
I'm running the time so I know how long this,
impressive.
if you could not reset it though and just use.
Let me just go to the timer. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So, first question, and you can answer this once or you can answer it several times and just go stream of consciousness.
Okay.
It's up to you. Who are you?
Who am I? I'm Philip Jones. I'm a dad. I'm a seeker. I am, who am I? That's a toughie. I think I'm a human being with a big heart, and maybe I'm athletic. All these things are like what I do. But who am I? I think a lot of my identity is wrapped up in being a parent. And it has been for a long time. And also someone seeking a companion and doing that kind of in a real haphazardly or sloppy way. And I've kind of jettisoned the looking for a companion, at least in an intentional way, and focused on purpose and mission and parenting being a part of that. So that's kind of like wrapped into this parenting thing. But I think I'm a person, aligning and developing purpose and mission through this thing we're doing here. And being open to how this could spin off in different ways, not needing it to be any one way, but being open-minded and like surveying what's going on to where possibility might be and opportunity might be. Yeah. Something like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Second question.
Oof.
Who do you pretend to be?
Who do I pretend to be? I don't know that I'm good at pretending. The masks we wear. Let's see, the mask I wear. I think, who do I pretend to be? Like, think about the audience. Like, who am I pretending for? When I'm around different people, like when I'm around the guys I rock climb with, I might, in that context, be a little broy than I normally am, because I know that's the language that they speak. So that's a mask I wear there of like talking about my genitalia more than I normally would, or kind of, having this kind of homoerotic, like bro back and forth thing. That happens there. In different areas, I pretend to be different things. But it's because I want to have fun and play with people in their language, in what I think is their language. So it's kind of like that grab assy type of thing. So I like play around there and that. Sometimes when I'm like walking the dogs and I like say hi to people, I'm like overly nice, like this super nice, like, hey, how you doing? Like this, like probably exaggerated nice guy thing. Which I like to think I'm a nice guy, but sometimes I think, like, wow, am I that nice of a guy? Seems a little bit much. I
Anything to your kids?
To my kiddos, I think I'm a pretend to be. What do I pretend to be to my kiddos? That's a good question. Do I pretend to be anything with my kids? I'm pretty open with them. I'm sure I do. That's a head scratcher.
I love that you have to ask. Okay. So the last one you ask me, which is, who do you think I am?
Who do you think I am?
Mm-hmm. I think you are somebody who really values self-work and reflection, not just from one angle, but from many. And that, as you said in the past, it was like almost in a grasping for who you are. And now it seems like almost like a defining yourself within and against, like triangulating who you are amongst a whole bunch of different reflections and feeling like you have a pretty good sense of it. I think you're someone that, like, while you question your purpose, have a fairly good sense of yourself and your values. I think you are I think you're someone who, like, is intentional but also kind of enjoys going with the flow of life, finding and trying different things based on what you feel called to, and also like trying to be consistent in being a father and being someone that's like driven to a certain goal. And I imagine maybe those things are sometimes in paradox. Um, I think you're a dedicated father. From the little I saw earlier, I think you're trying to teach your kids a form of like emotional communication and awareness that you've found yourself. I think you're someone that when you decide to be something, you put a lot of thought and work into it and go about learning it, and are not afraid of the work that it takes to learn it. I think you're someone who defines yourself partly but not fully by the labels that you have, like ADHD. And I think you're someone who very much strives for authenticity and to be honest and in the moment, and maybe feels like shame when you don't hit it fully. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Your turn.
Oh gosh, I have to go too.
You get to go.
Okay. Do you know the questions?
Who are you?
Okay. I am a facilitator and a teacher. I am a huge nerd who reads research papers on the regular for fun. I am a writer. I am somebody who's constantly seeking for truth to an almost pathological degree, where I can't like quite settle on any reality because there are so many that could be true. I am seeking community, but not 100% sure what it looks like. I am a boulderer. Someone who lives very much in the physicality of my body and goes a little bit crazy if I can't express it. I'm a lover of cats and of very certain dogs. I am more of a heady than a somatic or emotional person. I really rely on my brain as a sense of like identity. And I am the child of two extremely intelligent people who overall did quite a good job as parents, whether or not they think they did. I am uncertain if I have more time left.
You would hear the ding if you didn't have more time.
Got it. Okay.
That's why I just put it down. I was like, why am I looking at it? It dings.
Okay. I am a poet in my soul.
Okay. Who do you pretend to be?
I pretend to be someone who is like confident and knowledgeable, even while I'm still quite uncertain about my own path. I pretend to be high status. I pretend to be a community leader. I pretend to be socially confident. Sometimes I pretend to be more vulnerable than I'm actually feeling. Like I pretend things are vulnerable when they actually don't fully feel that way to me. I pretend to be disaffected by my dad's death. Something up to me a lot lately. I pretend to be certain about my gender. I pretend to be kind when I can often be judgmental. And I pretend to be relaxed when often I'm tense. I pretend to be a good wife, even when I fall short. I pretend to be someone very physical, even when I spend most of my day at my computer. Who do you think I am?
Yeah. I think you're thoughtful and intentional about the words that you say. There's like a clarity when you speak that it's understanding comes easily. When you speak that way, there's like a real sharpness to it. I think you're dedicated to connection and to helping people here in the organizations that you participate in. It's like there's this directionality to your efforts in the world that seem to be a product of that clarity in language here, of clarity of purpose or mission or how you want to show up in the world, from in one-on-one to groups to then people that participate in groups, helping people that help people. You have a lot of awareness of what's going on for you, and effortless in sharing it. Like it's just, even in this game, it's like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that you modeled for me in how to play the game through your response. I realized quickly that I should have let you go first. Because the way that you shared who you were and the masks, it presents a model for you, a really clear model for both, who you think you are, and then this place where you think there's masks or who you pretend to be. I looked down. I was grateful that it was only 3 seconds, but that's more about me than you.
You got to do one more now.
Oh, damn. You you may or may not like the dog that I own, but you're probably disappointed that I don't own any cats.
I'll forgive it.
I copped out on that last one.
No, it's fine.
It is what it is. All right. Dang.
How was that game for you?
That was fun. It was challenging to think about the masks that we wear, how we pretend in the world, to think about who we are, and then to have someone reflect back their view of you. As all of those are provocative.
I I think of that game in the way almost as like the core of authentic relating. Like, how do we interpret ourselves? How do we move around the world? And how do other people perceive us?
Yeah. Move around the world is how do we shape ourselves in order to be like to flow around the world? What are the masks we wear in order to like move in and out with
Right.
like some kind of lubricant, social lubricant or something?
What is the social self? And the who are you is oftentimes the hardest because, like, who do we define ourselves at
Yeah.
as outside of our roles? Like we were talking about earlier, our roles often are who we are. So if we try to look past that, it can be really fascinating to be like, okay, like, what do I find, if anything? And then what do I present to the world to kind of pretend to be something or to be different parts of myself? Because
Yeah.
it's funny. It's like the roles are just as much, the roles could go in either part, right? They could either be what you pretend to be or who you are. They fit both categories.
Yeah. That's a good game. And also an engaging and like a challenging game in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad we played it. Thank you.
Me too. Thanks for playing it with me.
Yeah. Now we take a couple deep breaths and then talk about your life story. Where were you born?
I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, in the city.
Yeah. Well, I was actually born in Philadelphia, but I grew up in Pittsburgh.
You were born in, what had you in Philadelphia?
My parents had jobs. Well, no. Yeah, my parents had jobs in Philadelphia and then they moved to Pittsburgh.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And so you don't have any memories from the place where you were born? All your
Not
memories
really
came
Philadelphia.
from...
I think we were I was like maybe 2 or 3 when we moved at oldest.
What was the family dynamic like?
I have a brother, and then my parents. And my parents didn't get along very much, and me and my brother didn't get along very much. So it was kind of a contentious household.
Your brother was older or younger?
He's older. He's 1.5 years older.
Didn't get along very much. What's that?
No. He teased me pretty ruthlessly, and I think I kind of provoked him, says my mom at least. I don't remember super well of that time. He started going to boarding school when I entered middle school, in part because we had so much friction that my parents were worried about it. Mm-hmm. And in part just because he was not doing well at home. He took my parents fighting a lot worse than I did because I just had fantasy books I didn't even notice. I was the chronic mediator too. I was always trying to conciliate between my parents, going from one to the other, shuttling messages, trying to calm them down.
Really? From a young age?
Yeah.
What was parental fighting like?
Gosh. They would have something that set them off. They would argue with each other. And then my dad would kind of give my mom the silent treatment for days at a time. Stonewalling. Yeah, absolutely. There was a very kind of complicated status dynamic. There was a bunch of things that paid into it. And my mom and I have a really close relationship now, can talk about just about anything, including stuff that parents and kids usually don't. My dad passed away about 9 months ago. My dad was autistic and was quite overwhelmed, I think, by having kids in the house. It's a lot of sound and stimulation. So I think he was just constantly triggered, which I have a lot of compassion for now. And he also had a kind of brittle ego. He couldn't really stand feedback. He would get angry really easily. And I think he felt kind of constantly shown up because in a lot of ways, my mom was more successful than him. My mom is a superstar in her career. She's won the Lifetime Award for epidemiology from a couple different institutes. She was on the board, I think, of, or at least has done consulting for the National Institutes of Health. She's was the dean of the School of Public Health at UT in Houston. Now she's an expert witness for the Johnson & Johnson cases against talc and baby powder and Tylenol leading to autism and stuff like that.
She was a rock star in the medical community.
Absolute rock star.
And your dad's in that same field?
My dad is a psychiatrist, or was a psychiatrist, and kind of went from job to job. Wasn't unsuccessful specifically, especially later in life. I think he like really was quite good at what he did, but definitely was not as successful as my mom.
Yeah.
But my mom tried to be like a super, super good mom and take care of everything in the household and us, and also lead this career. My dad kind of didn't help a lot. It was a pretty traditional relationship. So I think it was just like there was a lot of like status confusion. There was a lot of resentment. And it just felt like generally an unhealthy environment, and it couldn't really be talked about. There was no like, hey, let's sit down and discuss that these are patterns that are happening.
So it would manifest in these fights.
Yeah.
But what was underlying it was some of this status stuff,
I
and
think
maybe
there was a
some
lot of dynamics.
resentment or some jealousy or envy, or
Probably, yeah. I think that was part of it, yeah. And
maybe being the man and wanting to be the primary breadwinner. Like that was back in the day where maybe if a woman made more money than the man, it could have had some kind of
I think so, yeah. And
thorn in their paw.
I have a sense that was partially feeding into it, that my dad just felt like emasculated in some ways. Like he had a big thing around disrespect. Like he'd constantly tell us that we were being disrespectful. Even for things that like interrupting was hugely disrespectful for him. And it's like, interrupting is kind of normal in conversational turn taking, but for him, it was just like a no-go, and he had very clear views on reality, and you couldn't really shake them. They were truth. And so a lot of arguing, like family trips would just be a disaster. Me and my brother would fight like cats and dogs. My parents would fight. Everyone would fight with each other. But they tried their best to also find ways to love us. Like my mom was quite affectionate. They were both really supportive of our schooling. They gave us all our basic needs. My dad and I connected in a lot of really special ways intellectually. He taught me binary when I was quite young. We wrote poems to each other from the time I was like 13 years old until just a couple years ago. I've got like hundreds and hundreds of poems that we wrote to each other.
Really?
Yeah. I actually, when he died, I put out like a little informal book of poetry that we'd written to each other.
Nice.
We read them to him when he was dying.
Mm-hmm. Did your parents get divorced?
They eventually did, several years after we moved out of the house. Actually, it was a funny story. I took my mom to Burning Man. She came back. She decided to divorce my dad. Yeah. And strangely, getting divorced was the catalyst for them changing their relationship. My dad saw a bunch of ways that he'd been letting his anger rule. He realized how important my mom was to him. Like, he didn't have friends at all, basically. I think when he died, he had one friend that he talked to once a week on the phone. My mom was his everything. So he really changed the way he was interacting. And for the first time, the two of them really started looking at and talking about their relationship, which I like to think that like teaching them authentic relating and being around them in it maybe had some effect on. My dad actually went through a bunch of our trainings.
Really?
They showed up at some of our retreats.
No way. Your folks did?
Yeah. God, there was such a funny moment. And I'm always going to get these wrong because I get these two confused with each other. But they came to an authentic relating retreat. So like big room full of like 60 people. I wasn't facilitating the opening circle. My parents are sitting like just to the left of the facilitator, sitting together. And facilitator, one of them is like, the first one is like, okay, we're going to go around. Everyone is going to say their name and their pronouns and where they're from, I think. Mom raises her hand, or dad, I can't remember which, and goes, can you explain what a pronoun is? So the facilitator does the whole explanation of what a pronoun is and the difference between like pronouns that you were assigned at birth and pronouns that you choose. Cool. So first facilitator goes, says, you know, I'm so-and-so, here are my pronouns. Second facilitator goes, so-and-so, here are my pronouns. Dad, David Ness, XY. Mom, Roberta Ness, XX. Like they just named their chromosomes. And they totally understood the prompt. I might have gotten those chromosomes
They were being
switched.
a little snarky.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I probably am forgetting which chromosome is which, 50-50 chance I get that wrong every time. But yeah, they were totally being snarky, and they were just like, So they had this like vast intellectual humor, and that's really where they connected, is they were intellectual best friends.
Yeah.
So after they got divorced, my dad really changed. My mom kind of also started looking at their dynamic, realized where she'd contributed. They became closer than they'd ever been in their marriage.
Really?
For the last like 10 years of their life together, they were like this. They were peas in a pod. They spent most of their time together. When my dad started developing dementia, my mom took care of him. My dad decided to take his own life when the dementia got advanced enough, instead of like losing his mind slowly, which is incredibly brave, I think. And we were with him the whole time. He stopped eating and drinking, which is the only legal way you can do it in Texas, which sucks. But my mom now started a whole foundation to help people make end-of-life choices.
She could talk to a good friend of mine who's been advocating for that. Just recently went on Dr. Phil and has been kind of out in the media because his daughter passed away, and she wanted to pass away in her own way, and they were in New York and she wasn't allowed to. So it was a different type of story.
That would actually, I'm sure she'd love that connection.
I could put them together.
That'd be great. Yeah. She's doing wonderful work. She created this AI that you can talk to, like you can call into, and it'll have a conversation with you, and it sounds like a human. And at the end of it, it will send you a legal living will document that you can share for your end of life wishes.
Wow.
It's wonderful.
So your folks got divorced, and then in some way through your life's work, found a way to come back together and spend the rest of your dad's life together.
Yeah. In part, maybe because of my work, and also just because their willingness to really look at who they were in their relationship and what mattered to them.
Yeah.
So it was really amazing to see. It really changed my view on what's possible in relationship. I think before then I'd had a static view where I was just like, people can't change. Because my dad's been in therapy for like his entire career, and he's never changed, and he's never seen anything about himself as far as I can tell. And then that happened, and I was like, whoa, I have a completely new view of what's possible.
Yeah.
And now I'm married to someone where like we constantly give each other feedback and choose to change as a result of who we want to be and who each other reflects. And it's really magic.
Yeah. What do you think was your impact on from being in that type of environment growing up, where you had, the poetry and the love and the connection with your dad and also with your mom, but also witness and this like go-between in conflict?
Number one, just like basically getting used to being a mediator, getting used to like trying to listen very carefully to what was happening to someone and like de-escalate by reflecting them and by being with them. So I think that was really powerful for me. Getting to see how destructive it could be not to talk about the dynamics that were happening.
Because they never talked about any of it.
Definitely not with us. And I don't think they had much ability to see outside of it. I think they probably tried to.
You weren't scared when they would argue?
Yeah, I was.
You felt fear?
Yeah. I didn't feel fear that like there was going to be physical abuse, but I felt very frozen and scared. And especially like when my dad would blow up at us as well.
Would he like throw things? Was it outward expression, like bang on walls, or what did it look like? He only threw
something once. He would storm around. He would yell,
cuss.
Occasionally cuss, yeah. Project, I'm sure, use universalizing language, like just he would kind of go from 0 to 60 very quickly.
And on a dime.
You kind of never knew what was going to set him off. It's funny, like I don't think I've ever been asked this question about how he related or asked much about that dynamic. So it's actually really, really interesting to think about, and I appreciate the questions. Yeah. And my mom probably overshared to me, especially. Like I was very much her confidant, which I think gave me a sense of kind of emotional responsibility at quite a young age. And I didn't have like a ton of responsibility outside of that. Like I was quite sheltered as a kid. I was like, we were upper middle class, like definitely a little bit isolated, but given all the things for a good childhood, except for social interaction, really. But that wasn't necessarily their fault. They just didn't really know how to model it because they both had very demanding careers.
And perhaps not the tools to figure out how to prioritize.
Not at all.
Or I don't know.
It's really interesting discovering things in authentic relating, like going meta, talking about a dynamic. I was like, oh my God, how much would have changed in my childhood if I'd known that existed? And also, how did my dad, as a trained psychiatrist who was in therapy with years and years of experience, like not know these incredibly basic tools? Like Freudian psychoanalysis, I'm sorry to say, is bullshit. You can't fix what is right now by looking at your childhood. Like you actually have to change your behavior. You have to understand how you are. You have to understand how your parts interact with each other, or like how your somatics are, or something other than just understanding your past. So I also developed like quite a dislike of psychotherapy until recently, when some of these new methodologies have become more popular.
Carl Rogers.
Yeah. Carl Rogers, yeah, I mean, that's much
the
more
human-centered approach.
Like what we do, but also the rise of somatic psychology and internal family systems and some of these.
They all go really well together. I love
even Gestalt. Yeah,
Fritz Perl. You got this kind of like triangle of what I think is, Basil van der Kolk and what Peter. Anyway, the somatic stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of those folks, which is like, what's going on in your body? What are emotions like? How are you responding to them? And what this whole thing. And then you have mindfulness, like awareness. Like it all starts to have that awareness of what's going on in my present moment experience, which encompasses the somatic experience. And I think the third part of that triangle is that nonviolent communication, or, you could bring in Gestalt or Fritz Perl or that human-centered approach of like, how am I expressing outwardly and internally as
like
a result?
the CBT style of thing as well. Yeah. I think all of those are more powerful tools than the ones that they used to use back then. And like, at least in his world in like the 90s. So, yeah.
So there was these kind of arguments, and there's this kind of emotional bringing you into responsibility or giving you way more than you probably should have been exposed to at a young age.
Probably emotionally
supporting
speaking.
Your mom, which that might have felt good, like I'm being let in, but at the same time not realizing.
Yeah, it was something I could do, was trying to like be the mediator and go back and forth, kind of like a shuttle mediator basically, because most of the time they weren't talking to each other after they'd had a fight. But in retrospect, it led me to overtake responsibility and to start believing that feeling someone else's emotions and taking on their pain was a form of solving the problem. So that's been a really hard thing to detach from in my life.
What was your brother doing while all this was going on?
He was really, really angry as a kid. He really didn't respect my dad. My brother is like quite a hands-on person. Very physical. He now is like a handyman in Eureka Springs and runs a farm in Arkansas. And very practical. And my dad was extremely a man of the mind, and he was like kind of brittle. Like he only knew how to enforce discipline in a very like unilateral and like not always consistent way. And my brother, I think, really didn't respect him and really didn't feel like there was anyone like teaching him how to be a man, or anyone he could push back against. So he became quite angry, started having a lot of behavioral problems, was taking it out partly on me. And my parents, in what I think was a very wise move, offered him the chance to go to boarding school, and he leapt at it. And so he was in boarding school for most of my life growing up. He came home on the weekends at first, and then after a while just only came home on holidays. So he and I didn't really have a relationship, which there's some funny stories about how that transformed. But in the last couple of years, we've built more. But there was a good 10 years or so where we really didn't talk.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was very much a stranger to me.
Wow.
So in a lot of ways, I felt like I was an only child.
Because he was gone. He was at boarding school and came back.
Yeah. I don't even remember much about him coming back when I was young, because I think by the time I was kind of old enough to be forming my own social relationships, he was coming back so infrequently.
So y'all never played together or any of that sort of stuff? Like where you hear siblings playing together?
Not since we were little kids.
There's a question around social and emotional learning and like as you were growing up, it sounds like with your mom, you were getting some social vernacular as she's sharing her experience with you, and with your dad, probably not so much.
Mm-hmm.
What was it like? What was social and emotional learning like in your childhood?
I don't think there was a ton from my parents. In school, I was like always in the gifted programs, but I really didn't. My friends were all in some ways mentally or physically retarded. Like I didn't know how to connect with people normally. Like at recess, I would find a tiny like crevice where the door met the wall and I would just read the entire time. Like I didn't expect to be included in games, or I would literally go down the hill and dig coal out of the ground because the school was where a coal mine used to be. Like that was the level of social capacity that I had. No joke. I was like teased by the other kids when I was in elementary school. I would help people with their homework, but that was like kind of about the extent. And then I would go home and like wander in the woods around the ravine and read at my house. So when I was in middle school, my parents transferred me to this all girls private school. And that was the first time that I made friends that were like not severely retarded in some way. Not that like it's bad to be retarded. It was just like not a good way to learn social skills because they interacted very differently and were like somewhat more volatile.
Mm-hmm.
And I made some friends there, which was wonderful. Like learned a lot about connection from them. They had their own issues with their families and gender and sexuality and such. But they were more normal for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was in my junior year of high school, I chose to go on an exchange to live in Italy. And that was probably the thing that was most socially transformative to me. That's like really where I transformed and grew up because I had way more responsibility. I wasn't as isolated. I was placed with a host family. I barely spoke Italian. Nobody around me spoke English. So I had to learn the language very quickly.
Yeah.
I was in a school that spoke no English.
Whoa.
It was intense, man. I had one semester of a college course in Italian that I'd taken under my belt. That was it. So I learned very quickly.
Sink or swim.
Very much so. And my first host family wasn't really a fit. They'd kind of taken me on when no one else could, but they didn't really have a lot of space for me. But also my host mom tried really, really hard to welcome me. But also it was a lot more responsibility. It was a lot more novelty than anything I'd done before. So I really had to teach myself to say yes to any social opportunity that came my way because there were so few of them. My class didn't really accept me or want me around. In Italy, the teachers change rooms, but the students don't. So oftentimes the students have been with each other since like elementary school, if some of them have stayed in the class with each other. So it's like they have very clear social bonds and there is not room for someone else coming in, really.
Really?
At least in that grade level that I was in. So
What grade was it?
I was a junior, so it was like third year for them.
Mm-hmm.
I did end up finding a karate class that I took and I made some friends there. So I eventually started making social connections. I eventually got transferred to a host family that kind of had more space for me. But it forced me to grow up and to start. I had like a couple mantras when I was there. I was like, say yes to everything. And the other was, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just different. Taught me a lot about cultural difference. So I got really lucky with that experience. I don't know who I would have been without it.
When you say it was hard, is it that isolation again? The lack of social like opportunity?
Lack of social contact, lack of ability even to communicate in the short term, feeling very awkward. Like the first time I had to try to explain in Italian to my host mom that I was having a period. Like the time yeah, exactly. I was like, how do I don't know the word for blood. I don't know the word for like, what do I, time, month. Like that's about as close as I got. It took me like 5 minutes to make her understand. There was the time that I didn't quite understand the direction of the cheek kissing thing. First time I met my Italian grandparents in that family, I went left, my grandma went right, kissed right on the mouth, spent 2 hours unable to communicate with each other. Like things like that. And I was like very awkward and uncomfortable. So I just had to like learn to adapt, really.
Did you?
I did. Definitely, it caused me to grow up in a lot of ways. And I also was undiagnosed bipolar for most of my life. And I think that probably had a huge impact on me. Like, I went through swings of pretty intense depression. I'm not like bipolar 1 or anything. Like, it's not so bad that I have periods of blacking out, but like there's a lot of emotional swings. And that was only diagnosed a couple years ago, and I got medicated, which changed my life. So I would get really, really depressed. And that had a big impact of like, I would have a hard time like mustering the energy to do anything. And it was hard that first half year in Italy, especially because I'd been so sheltered and had my needs provided for and been so close to my parents. Like, my mom and I were best friends in a way. And so I really struggled. And then when I came home, my mom got a job in Houston, and she moved down there while my dad stayed with me for my senior year. And my dad and I did not get along. So we had this terrible time with each other. And my dad was very authoritarian, and I was coming back from an experience where I'd had a lot of freedom by necessity, and Italian kids are given more freedom. So that was awful. My friends had all moved on to other things, were not really available anymore, were having their own troubles. And like, one of the ways I acted out was I semi-intentionally screwed up all of my college entrance essays. And so I ended up at the school that my parents had forced me to apply to, which was UT Austin, because my mom knew she could get me in because she worked within the system. It was supposed to be a fallback. I was not supposed to stay in Austin. I was supposed to go to a tiny liberal arts college in the Northeast. It's where everyone from my school went.
Yeah.
But when I got to Austin, it was the first time I'd really been socially exposed and free. And I was like, oh my God, there's a whole world out there. And it just opened me to a lot of possibility. And so I ended up staying.
That's where you started all this, all the stuff that you got into was here in Austin.
Yeah.
What'd you study?
I became a humanities major. I was in the honors program, and I took, in the humanities degree that they offer at UT Austin, you can choose your major. You can basically make one up. And if you can convince the teachers to let you into classes that seem related, you can get it. So I actually majored in intentional living communities.
Intentional co-ops.
Yeah. Co-ops, communes, co-housing.
You majored in co-ops?
I majored in co-ops. And I graduated triple honors, like, doing that.
Co-ops.
I wrote a 250-page thesis on how to live in intentional community.
Wow.
And how to build intentional community. Yeah.
So you were studying that through through the places that you lived the whole time you were in college?
Yeah.
You were living in co-ops the whole time?
I was living in co-ops almost the whole time. Yeah.
And you loved it enough, you're like, I'm going to make this a degree.
Yeah, basically. And that's why I took a year off. I traveled around the US. I tried to make a film. Film was never finished, but the interviews that I did and the information I got from visiting those different communities, combined with me starting to study circling in Boulder during my senior year after I'd found out about authentic relating. There was no authentic relating training, so I went and studied circling. And then I used the Integral Center as a model of integral community, and I basically wrote my thesis on authentic, intentional integral community and like what that looked like and the communication skills you needed in community. And I mapped it all to integral maps. It's still out there. It's called Building Utopia.
Wow.
It's the thesis. Yeah.
Wow. You didn't have there was no other students. You were a unique path that you paved your own path.
Yeah. I took sociology courses and psychology. I kind of bluffed my way into an advanced music composition class I should not have been in, just for fun.
That's how you shine during our musical improv thing.
I love music and musical improv. Jordan and I would get on these tears during circling immersions, where he's an incredible guitarist. I don't know if he told you.
We've played around a little bit together.
Yeah, so he would play guitar and we would improvise songs together about like basically circling each other through music in the moment. It was really fun.
That sounds
My
cool.
husband and I will like rewrite the lyrics to Disney songs and sing them all the time.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
So that takes us to like college and where you are now. When you graduated college, there wasn't like a career path, was there?
No. So when I graduated, what I had wanted to do was to woof, basically working on organic farms. I wanted to do that in Spain and Portugal. But I had started the Authentic community in Austin my senior year, and the Authentic community in Houston. For a while, I was shuttling back and forth between those, flying every month to Boulder to train and writing my thesis and attending classes. It was
How were your folks helping you pay for all that? How were you paying for all that? That seems like a lot of
my parents
gas
had paid my way through college. I had like some jobs during my junior year, and then my film had gotten funded. The film that never was, but that paid for the travel, had gotten funded through Kickstarter and gotten some money from the local co-op associations. But I was very lucky. My parents have, in a lot of ways, funded me. Otherwise, it would be hard to do the things that I do, at least at the price points that we try to do them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also, we were hosting retreats and trainings at that time. Like we started hosting.
You were bringing in income through these retreats and trainings.
We started hosting all Texas retreats between the Houston and Austin communities, like only like maybe 6 months after we got started. And then off of that, people asked for facilitator trainings. So I and my co-facilitators at the time were like, I guess let's just look at what we're doing and make up a training. And those really evolved over time. And cost of living in Austin was cheaper then.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, way back when. Casa de Luz donated us the space for the first couple years we were there. Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
So we were really beautifully supported. I had a Patreon for many years.
You did?
That helped subsidize things. Yeah. It was very much like social capital was turning into physical capital, and people were just volunteering to support. And I created a facilitator community that was as vibrant as the participant community, which I think is really what gave us a lot of our juice. We would do facilitator meetups and practice and play together and have business meetings for the community. And there was like 20 or 30 of us at various times that would all
facilitators
come in, have holiday parties. It was really an amazing time to be part of. There was so much energy. The retreats would happen every 3 months. The trainings would happen every 3 months. Like everyone would go through them. Everyone would try their hand at leading and getting feedback. It was like chaos some of the time, but oftentimes really beautiful. And then I was also going to Boulder every month to few months to train and then eventually to lead trainings. And that as a mothership and as a place that I got mentored was incredible. I feel so grateful for it.
For the Integral Center.
Yeah.
And you were building the material for a movie at the same time?
I tried. So I filmed while I was on the road. I had like 4 people that came with me to film. And we did interviews at like 30 different intentional communities all over the US. But I wasn't a filmmaker. I'd taken one liberal arts filmmaking class. I decided to do it because like there was a filmmaker in my co-op that was supposed to come with us, but he dropped out of the project super early on. And so I had this rotating string of people that like didn't really know what they were doing. And I only had bike transportation. So I got back to Austin. The only editor I could find within the budget that we still had, because almost all of our money was gone after renting the van and getting 4 people across the US, even though we were just staying at the co-ops. The only editor I could find lived 45 minutes away from me by bike, up and down tons of hills. I was trying to write my thesis, go to Boulder. Like I ended up not being able to complete the film. Also, because I was trying to create it like a research paper instead of like an actual story. So there was no through line. It was just like topic.
Yeah.
Which is apparently not how you create a film, as it turns out.
Maybe.
Yeah. Not a good film.
Do you still have all the footage?
I still have all the footage. Someday I'd love to get it edited, but
find a way to make a story in there.
Yeah, I'm sure I could now. It just hasn't been a priority.
Maybe you just need one subjective experience through one, and then you can draw in all the voices I don't know.
Yeah. It's still all there, and it was a fascinating project, and I used all of that material in my thesis, but the film never ended up happening.
Materialized. But going to the integral theory was really a powerful experience for you. Being, you were a facilitator. You got certified as a facilitator through that experience?
I got certified in circling, through the Integral Center. There was no certification in authentic relating, so we kind of developed our own. But I got certified as a circler through them, and then later on through Circling Europe. And then pretty quickly they started bringing me on to help assist with and then lead trainings. Because Austin was the biggest community then. They were all what is this random thing that this girl who's like, and I was 20 when I started. So like, they were like, what is this early 20s human doing down in Texas?
That's bringing so many people together.
Yeah. And started like bringing them to the Integral Center as well, and like doing these retreats and doing these trainings that were like, didn't kind of know what to make of me. But
did you tap into UT, or what was it? Was it UT students?
It was the co-ops, and it was ecstatic dance. And it was the acro yoga communities that I was part of. I was hyper social in those days. So I was going out to things all the time.
Those seem all like very fertile ground. Ecstatic dance, it seems like a perfect fit.
Yeah.
The co-ops, they already are so hyper social, probably folks that there's like a selection bias for that type of living experience that would be hyper social, I would think.
Yeah.
Right.
Some folks from the Zen Center got involved. I would like date people on OkCupid, and I would invite them to games night, and they would come, and then we wouldn't date, but they'd stay part of the community. Everyone was inviting their partners. Everyone new to Austin. It was like, where should I go to meet people? Oh, go to games night. We had a really good way of doing it where ecstatic dance would be in the morning, and then in the evening on Sundays we would run games nights, so people could just spend their whole day connecting with people. I'd do an announcement at ecstatic dance. I'd like roll to the middle of the room, and I'd be like, if you want to learn to connect with your words like you connect with your body, come to games night.
This when it was out at 183 at the...
Oh, this was before then even. This was it was on the east side. Like what was then far east side, but is not now. I'm forgetting the name of the place, but they were there for many years. Yeah. That's
cool.
like 12 years ago. Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Acro yoga was still at the Palmer Events Center on a bunch of mats outside, a smallish community. I actually met my husband back then at a circus meetup where I was doing acro yoga and he was spitting fire.
Like you, I had a difficult childhood. Well, you didn't say you had a difficult childhood, but you might have. I assumed.
Okay.
I had a difficult childhood with a stepdad that sounded a lot like your dad. That would kind of was not prepared for all of the sounds and the vibrance and the energy of kids. Or a kid like me, I had a lot of energy and a lot of excitement and a lot of like movement and noise making. And he had a temper that would just be like hair trigger, and you wouldn't know when it would happen. So there was this almost eggshelly all the time, a lot of fear. And when it came to parenting, I didn't have any of the skills. And I think for a long time, I parented in a way that wasn't great for the kids or for me. And that was one of the impetus for all of the self-reflection and study and all of this. It wasn't just for making me better relating. It was to make me a better parent so I could give them a better environment. Because goodness, like, it took a while for me to realize that my role models had taught me the wrong way to live. It was like, not, hey, this is the way you live your life. It's like, no, these are all the ways that you don't live your life. These are all the ways that you don't influence people. Yeah. And then when you're given all the wrong ways, you have to kind of seek out the right ways. It's not apparent.
Yeah. It's fun to know where intended. It came from.
It's not apparent. What did you say?
It makes more sense now why you went on that journey. Like, I feel like having kids is a wonderful impetus for, okay, I have to get better, but I can also see it in your speech, and then I can see it in your kids. Like, Eve being willing to express her own needs is a big thing, and trusting you with them.
Yeah. She has some of the same traits as I have, some of this neurodivergent stuff. I think both my kids have it a little bit. This stuff's kind of genetic.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
I wonder what we want to explore. We're kind of at the end of this.
Yeah.
My daughter has brought to my attention that time has flown.
Rung the bell.
Is there anything we want to talk about in closing?
What was a highlight for you of this interview?
Oh my goodness. I think I had a view of you that was totally different than you.
What was your view?
Oh man, now we're doing authentic relating games. You like got me there. That's a good question. Let's see.
I like knowing. It's like good reflection.
What did I have to go on? I didn't have a lot to go on, except for like some pictures and, stories of authentic relating, because I'd never been in community with you or in any of the groups with you. What had I built up in my mind? I'm either like blanking out because I'm embarrassed, or I didn't have one, but I know that you're different than what I had kind of expected. But if I expected something, I would have expectations. I would have them.
Are there like some attributes you thought I had?
Not really attributes. Because I'd seen pictures of you. You look like the pictures. Maybe I thought you'd be taller.
The one thing you can't tell from pictures.
Or maybe I thought you'd be like, there's like I didn't know you were as focused and clear. I guess maybe I thought there'd be a more bubbly or more like, I don't know, it's hard for me to pinpoint it. And I also don't want to hurt any feelings because neither of them are good or bad. No, I love this.
Yeah, I'm super good at taking feedback, so it's very likely you'll offend me, and I'll try to tell you if you do.
But it's like, it's not feedback. It's just, so maybe I thought being a facilitator, there'd be like a more like big or more expressive way. And you have a real like calm, it's not as expressive. Maybe I thought you'd be more expressive.
Yeah.
But you like have little eruptions of it. I really like those.
I've gotten the feedback that I'm pretty composed. In front of a room, I can definitely like put more energy on and be playful. But I think it's part of the like valuing intellect.
That makes sense.
Which sometimes is a plus. It like allows me to like do something different than a lot of other facilitators, because it's like even within the authentic relating field, I can be very clear and make lots of models and distinctions. But it has its downsides. It's like not always as charismatic. So I like the reflection. I appreciate it.
Then I didn't know how this was going to go. I don't ever, like I told you, you were like, I kind of maybe want to plan. And I was like, well, I think I had this thought of what to share back when you said that. And what I didn't say to you was, I think that the way you've lived your life every day until we meet has been all the planning you need to have the conversation with me. I mean, that's really what I'm wanting. But the way this is unfolded, from every aspect of it, from the games that you invited and we played, we got that I've never done an improv music game with anybody. And so we kind of broke free from some of the games that I always offer. And I'll probably offer those games now.
Good.
The color game where we try to say the color at the same time. I'll offer that one. That's a good game. And then, I loved how effortless conversing was. It seemed to be really easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And time flew by. What about you?
I loved too how much it felt like a conversation and finding connections and just like, I don't know. I didn't feel awkward at all. Like we could have been talking at a coffee shop. I would have definitely asked you more questions about you in that case. But there was just a lot of like moments of connection and even things I want to follow up on with you. I felt touched by like the intentionality in what you were asking and like the degree of curiosity. And it was really insightful in that last piece, just being invited to consider some things that I hadn't. Like the questions you were asking about my childhood, I was like, wow, like I get asked about my backstory often on podcasts, but I never get asked to really think about what that was like and the ways it affected me. So it felt really touching to get to explore a lot of new things in this. I wasn't really regurgitating things I'd said before. Which
is one of the rituals of someone that's going to be an authentic relator. Wasn't that the first ritual?
Yeah.
We did it.
I always say it slightly differently each time, but if you get the same question each time, it becomes hard to really access something new. And I felt like you invited me to access new parts of me.
Oh, that's cool. That feels good to hear. Yeah. I hadn't watched all the podcasts, so I didn't know. You could have been saying all the same stuff and I would have never known.
Nope. No, I think this was all new, really. I can't think of many things I'd really said before.
All new stuff.
Fun, yeah.
Well, I'll definitely invite you back to continue this conversation in one way, shape, or form.
I'd love that.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate your interviewing.
Yeah. I like to end with a hug, but not everybody's a hugger, so...
I am definitely a hugger.
Okay, well...
I will cuddle pile you.
Could we end with a hug?
I'd love to end with a hug.
You just swivel this thing around. Thank you. Thank you. That was...